This podcast is a part of the Podmania Podcasting Network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. Hello everyone and welcome to the Young Lioncast, your fortnightly audio source of all things New Japan Pro Wrestling, right here on the Podmania Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by Chris O'Brien. How are you, Chris?
Still not used to this intro.
Trying to be more professional, Chris.
Yeah, I get that, but also that's not really the air I personally go for.
I think that's made clear in every podcast we do, bud.
My vision for the podcast, and you're like, when we interviewed Simon Miller, you were like, Chris, you need to tell me the questions you're going to ask beforehand because I don't trust you.
Yeah, basically what happens, ladies and gentlemen, is before we come on air, there is 10 minutes of me telling Chris what he can and can't say. Which I think is for the best.
But quite often ignored, let's be fair.
Oh, 100%. So just before we get into what this podcast is actually about, Chris, I have an interesting story. I told you that part of the reason, well, I'll tell you the sole reason that I was late to come onto this podcast was because I was making extensive notes. And whilst that is half true, I discovered today, whilst I was in the shower, that I'd forgotten how to open my shower door. Let that sink in for a moment.
How hard can it be?
Right, well...
There's 3 ways it can open. Inwards, outwards, or sideways.
Correct. That is absolutely 100% correct. Now, let me walk you through a shower with Rob. What happens is, Chris, I will get completely naked, as is the norm.
Yeah. No, you wear shower pants for the man who has nothing to hide, but still wants
to. I got into the shower and I get in with my phone because I will be searching for music to play whilst I'm in the shower. And usually...
Brave.
It does drive my girlfriend absolutely insane. However, I was searching for music and obviously... completely subconsciously, you know how to do things, so I open the shower door. And it dawned on me because the handle to our shower door is in the middle of the door, and you pull it, and it pulls the door inwards. So it's 2 bifolding doors, and you pull it, it pulls inwards, and the door obviously opens, and you put your phone on the sink, and you rave to whatever you're listening to. Billy Talent, for anyone that gives a shit. Now, today was the first time that I have actually consciously thought about how I was opening the door. And I went to the right-hand side of the door, and there was nothing there to grab, and I was pulling it, and the door wasn't moving, and rather than like a rational human being would think, well, clearly, I'm doing this wrong, I panicked, instantly thinking I'm going to die in here, and started wrenching at the door until I realised that I was pulling the wrong bit. I have, in fact, cracked the shower glass. How are you, mate?
This is a proper Chris story. Like, that sounds like a story I'd go on at the start of the podcast.
And you know what? It is just that fucking ridiculous that it has to be true.
You know, it's one of those weird things where, like, sometimes when you're standing, you think, how am I standing? And then you forget how to stand.
Or more alarmingly, it's when you drive a route to wherever you're going so often that you will eventually just snap into, how the fuck did I get here?
I once felt the tongue in my mouth and screamed because I had never thought about
your tongue.
Yeah, I was like, my tongue was like, ah!
Oh my god!
What the fuck is this?
Oh, right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we said that we were going to keep this podcast concise. I think that pretty much shows you that we're not. What we're aiming for, sorry, I've just swallowed. See, I can't even fucking swallow when I consciously think about it. Oh, fuck's sake. Anyway, What we're going to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is we are going to give you a rundown of New Japan's year. New Japan in review, and we're going to start all the way back in January 2019 and work our way through to Tag League and sort of pick up things that we agreed with, pick up things that often, when it comes to award season, are forgotten because they were right at the start of the year. We'll also be picking up some things that we think New Japan didn't necessarily do very well, some issues, and basically talk through what a year it's been in 2019. Before we do that, though, Chris, I have got a couple of bits of news. The first one, not really New Japan related, but you'll see why I've brought it up in a moment. The first is that WWE have announced that both Harper and Sin Cara have been released along with the tag team The Ascension. Just quickly, Chris, you don't have to embellish if you don't want to. Do you see any of those, particularly Harper or Sin Cara, do you see either of those appearing in New Japan?
Harper, maybe. New Japan does need more big guys. Like, basically, all they have right now is Fale and Archer. But also in the case of Harper, he's not as special. As shitty as it sounds, he's not as special as he was 3 or 4 years ago. Like, we have a lot of Luke Harper types around now.
Yeah, brawler types.
Yeah, like big guys who can like go. Like, look at the Elgin. Oh shit, I'm still learning the name. The Elgin match from the Sumo Hall Noah show.
Yeah,
and it's sort of like those kind of big men who can move fast but don't necessarily do anything. But Diamond doesn't nowadays, and a lot of people do. Wow, I don't. Maybe, but also I don't. You generally don't know. Like, if you had told me that Moxley was going to New Japan, I wouldn't have believed you in a million years. So.
No, and that's something I want to talk about when we get to the G1, because I was slightly apprehensive when Moxley was announced for the G1, because obviously my only exposure to Dean Ambrose, as he was then, was in the WWE, and he, thank God, proved me wrong, because he had 2 instant classics in the G1, along with a host of good matches. So yeah, we'll see. I can't see New Japan looking at Sin Cara, to be perfectly honest. The only time I can really see him going into New Japan is during perhaps a Fantastic Mania tour or something like that. Harper, I think personally, and we discussed this in the group chat, I personally think he is more of a fit for something, maybe say an Impact. Yeah, maybe. But again, Impact is basically ruled by big men right now. So, like, if he went in, like, would he really stand out among, like, Moose, Killer Cross, Elgin, and Cage? I would love to see Elgin versus Harper. So would I. But maybe if Harper went to Noah. Maybe. I mean, Harper in All Japan, maybe? Harper in All Japan would be... How many giant... I'm generally quite ignorant of the All Japan product. I've only watched a few shows. Like, how many... There's Zeus, I know that, but apart from that, and Joe Doing, but apart from that, I can't think of any giants. I mean, you have a tag team called the Violent Giants. I thought about the Violent Giants. I mean, you got Suwama and Ishikawa. They're both enormous. You've got a horse than a giant, though. Like, yeah, true. Wide, tall. Say again? He's more wide than he is tall. True, and that goes for Strong BJ as well. Both Sakamoto and Okabayashi are both very, very wide. So I don't know. The Ascension are basically done it. What? They're doomed to life of former WWE star. Yeah, and it's a real shame because, especially at the start of NXT, they were a good tag team. Earlier this year, when we covered, when I went over the old takeovers, the Ascension run. It's like, we don't get dominant tag teams like that anymore. It's a real shame. It is. You're right. It is. It is a shame, but there's not a lot else you can say about that. Hello, my girlfriend has just walked in. Hello, Kirsty. How are you? She's putting a thumb up to me with a secret thought of, "You're such a fucking dork." You are a fucking dork. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. She's laughing now and pretending that she doesn't hate everything I stand for. It's all right. She's also just realised, sorry, Chris, I've already told you about my absolute fiasco in the shower today, which I will tell you later, Kirsty. I am also... He's currently wearing a hoodie with his own face on it. What? Basically, for those who didn't quite pick that up, I am currently wearing a hoodie with my own face on it. Fucking Mark. I am nothing if not a mark for myself. Do either of you have the context of this? There's no context. I'm wearing a hoodie with my own face on it.
But why?
No, it was a joke graduation present from my mum. It was a cheaply made hoodie with series of pictures of my own face on it, but in a weird turn of events, it is the best fitting hoodie I own.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Going back to All Japan, just very, very quickly, Chris. I recently watched a little bit more of their Real World Tag League shows, and particularly the final, and I highly, highly, highly recommend the Nomura Jake Lee versus Next Stream tag team match, and the final between the Violent Giants and Jake Lee and Nomura. Both matches are absolutely insane, and to be honest, actually make you realise how much of a joke the New Japan tag division and their tag league have been this year.
Oddly enough, I was thinking this when I was watching the Stardom Tag League, where I was like, I don't feel like I'm watching a tag league. I just feel like I'm watching like something I want to watch.
No,
like
I agree.
New Japan ruined the idea of a tag league for me. When in reality, like put on a great tag match on a card, and it's probably the best match on the card.
Absolutely.
So, and I was watching it going, even like the comedy shit, like with Natsu Sumire and Session Moth, I was like, this is actually like funny, and because the way Stardom do it, they don't like just dedicate everything to it. Because there's a bunch of tag matches and Stardom shows anyway. So like, say it happens in their big Korakuen show, the tag league isn't focused. They put tag league matches on the undercard, while having like Mayo versus Priestley on the top. So like, it just naturally integrates into the product. Whereas New Japan, it just makes you want to skip. Yeah, it's weird. Next year, Rob, if we're still doing the in-line, we should definitely just review the All Japan Tag League for a month.
I agree. And final thing, I was in the gym today, and I was watching, while I was on the treadmill, the tag match between, again, Violent Giants and Strong BJ from the Dream Power series in March. And it is fucking great. It's just two Hoss teams, literally just pounding Seven Shades of shit out of each other, which is exactly what I want from my tag team.
Yeah, to be fair, you really hyped up Axis, and I was really disappointed from the show I watched.
Did you get that link I sent you that was the...
Yeah, I did, but also like I didn't want to watch a 3-hour link on my phone, and I can't be bothered setting up. Can you send it me over Facebook, please?
It's the final match, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Anyway, we've already got a little bit sidetracked. That was the first bit of news. The second bit of news and the final bit of news before we get into the main meat of our podcast, is that the New Japan Pro Wrestling of America Twitter has announced that they have their first shows of 2020, the New Beginning USA, and it's going to hit 5 cities in 9 days. So the announced dates and cities are January the 24th in Tampa, Florida, January the 26th in Nashville, Tennessee, January 27th in Raleigh, North Carolina, January the 30th in Miami, Florida, and February the 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. Not a lot else has been announced. I'm reserving judgment until I see what kind of roster is announced, what kind of people are going to this, and what kind of arenas they announce, what kind of seating, and, what kind of title are we going to have, or is this going to eventually lead to perhaps IWGP United States tag team titles? Is this going to be a secondary title? Is this going to be only the American stuff, or are we going to have Japanese stuff defended on the American shows? I'm reserving judgment. It's just an announcement. Anything to add, Chris?
They put it in a good spot where there's like it's around the time of Fantastic Mania, so there's not a ton going up on the streaming service that people really give a shit about. So it's like a good way to pad it out. But like they've picked their spot pretty well, but also, yeah, until we see like a roster and their plans, we can't really say anything. Like the fact that they're keeping it quiet sort of worries me. But apart from that,
yeah, I mean they've hit 2 different cities that they haven't hit before in Tampa and Miami, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of market that is for New Japan of America. To be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I am just going to say right now, I know that there has been interviews regarding New Japan of America, and that there is probably going to be a series of small shows and then maybe 2 big shows. With everything that we look at as wrestling fans and as people who do a podcast, we simply will not have time to do New Japan of America and the New Japan product that we watch on a weekly basis. So what we will probably end up doing is those 2 big shows we might review, but everything else we might just reference the results. I don't think we'll be looking at that.
There's way too much good wrestling.
There is. I mean, me and Chris have spent the last, 4 days looking at Noah and All Japan, and I'm now completely hooked, probably because it was a good real world tag league, but I'm hooked on All Japan at the moment. I know that you really enjoyed the Noah show from the 2nd of November.
I don't see... We talked about Yoshihiro Kaito last week. I don't really... I sort of get he's a bit babyface, but, I think he comes off as a good champion.
Yeah, he does, and again, this is something that we can talk about, I'm sure, when there isn't...
Kaio did impress me more than Kaito.
Yeah. And again, we'll probably have discussions about this when we haven't got literally 4 pages of Rob detailed notes to plough through on this podcast. So let's kick off then with Wrestle Kingdom. But before we do, news that broke before Wrestle Kingdom, and something that put New Japan perhaps in a little bit of a shadow, was the news of AEW, the new American company formed by Cody and the Bucks, All Elite Wrestling. Chris, do you think this put Wrestle Kingdom 13 under a bit of a cloud?
Not in terms of my enjoyment, maybe in terms of everyone else's enjoyment, because if you remember back to my predictions, I thought Kenny was going to stay. So
I forgot about that.
I was really, really wrong, wasn't I? But yeah, I think for a lot of people, especially since half his card have the Elite on it, and I think it was very obvious the next day when there was no Elite on the New Year's Dash show that AEW sort of purged the roster. It's okay. It's not okay when WWE does it, but when AEW does it, it's suddenly fine. Honestly, with AEW, now I'm just disgusted at Cody's work. The only stuff he really did for Cody that was really any good was against Kenny, Okada, and Ibushi. The rest of it was just so average that it hurt.
You've got to be a fairly poor worker to not have a great match against one of those 3, to be honest.
Exactly, and then anything else he did was just sort of, So
yeah.
I'm kind of annoyed now seeing what he can do in AEW when he's fully motivated, and then in New Japan he was just, he's see the Juice match. I get he was injured. Don't go on the show if you're injured. Don't go 10 minutes if you're injured. Have a quick shock.
I made it perfectly clear when we did our Wrestle Kingdom review, which you can find back in the archives, just how disappointed I was with Cody, with his championship reign. And to be honest, the fact that we didn't have someone like Minoru Suzuki on the main card at all, yet Cody, who phoned in a lot of his New Japan run, I think that's widely acknowledged.
If you look at who's on the fucking undercard, you have Marty, you have Makabe, you have Yano, all these people who are here much more than Cody, against Suzuki, Archer, Davey Boy,
Elgin, Beretta,
Goto. I'm not being funny, I know Goto didn't have the best never run, he still deserves to be on the main card somewhere.
100%, I agree with you. And again, that match and the fact that he came out in the Jags colours, it really, really soured me towards Cody in that match. And it's a shame because the crowning of Juice Robinson, again, after that, shit show towards the end of 2018, that crowning should have not taken place under the shadow of, oh, well, Cody's injured, and oh, well, Cody's going, and oh, look, AEW. And I don't think that's fair on Juice.
I think that's going to be with Juice. His title reigns have never come without a caveat. So, he wins against Jay White in what's a low-key match of the year last year. If Kenny Omega versus Okada didn't exist.
No, I agree.
And then, but it's but he's in the G1 and everyone's beating him. He was in the block with every champion and every champion beat him.
Yeah, if at any point you wanted to see where the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship is on the totem pole, the G1 Climax sort of put that very firmly into place.
Exactly, and then of course he wins here. It's but Cody beat him, and he didn't have a long reign. So to be fair, he did. But then he lost it to Malkley. So.
Yeah. Moving away then from the Elite and all the fiasco that went on there, what was your overall opinion of Wrestle Kingdom 13?
Great show. Absolutely flew by. It's like, what, a 4-hour show? Felt like 2 hours. Like, felt like an extended takeover in the sense of like everything was at least a 7, with the exception of Juice versus Cody. You have like Ospreay versus Ibushi, which is just people seem to be disappointed, but like that's mostly because they weren't going a million miles per hour throughout the whole thing, which is confusing to me because the biggest thing with Ospreay and Ibushi were like, oh, we don't sell, and then as soon as they sell, oh, the matches are slow and plodding. So it's like some they can't win. But you know, that match established for Hidden Blade as like a killer, which I like when a movie is established as a killer.
Yeah, it was graphic. It's still, to this day, probably the most savage Hidden Blade. And if you believe rumours that went round that it clean knocked Ibushi out, the fact that Ospreay, who at this point still was very firmly a junior heavyweight, that he was managed to deadlift Ibushi into the Stormbreaker is, you know, testament to Ospreay's ridiculous strength. You know, there was great matches between Zack Sabre Jr. and Ishii for the Rev Pro title, which I know was Garth's sleeper hit of the night. The blood feud between Okada and Jay White came to a fantastic head during that match. And then you've got, of course, Naito versus Jericho. The return of the Painmaker, not that he was the Painmaker of that time. You know, the no DQ match, probably, in my opinion, his second best match in New Japan.
I think it's better than the Kenny match, personally.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I'm not, like, we watched the Kenny match recently. I'm not as massive on it as I was at the time. It doesn't really hold up to rewatches.
That's the thing, though. You look at Wrestle Kingdom 12, the hype surrounding that match. Think about how many Western eyes were brought onto that show because of that, man. The hype surrounding it. That entrance of Jericho still gives me goosebumps now.
Really great entrance, but like also I understand it brought a lot of eyes, but like I'm trying to think of an example. Imagine how it's hard to think of a good example, but like I've been watching this product for a while now, so like the excitement a lot of people will be feeling if it's been first exposure to New Japan wasn't there. So like I'd been watching it for like 4 years at that point, so like I honestly was just looking out to see what Jericho was going to do for the product. And in the long term, I honestly don't like Jericho in New Japan because he seems to have no way to start feuds apart from either just randomly turning up on the Titantron or randomly attacking people. I mean, why the fuck did he attack Evil?
That's a very good point. It did lead to a great match.
It did a really good match, but also I care as much about story as I do about match quality.
No, fair enough. And is that why you thought Naito Jericho from this show was a lot better?
Yeah, it was like built up. It was basically a revenge thing on Naito's part, so it worked. And also, like, it reunited him with the IC belt, which he sort of started to Nakamura at this point. So,
yeah, and I really like the story as well in that match that Naito had to resort to using the belt that he'd hated for so many years to actually beat Jericho. Exactly. I love that.
It was sort of like the Taichi story from the year before, where he didn't want the Never title, but when he got it and lost it, he desperately wanted it back. So,
yeah, I agree.
Quickly going back on the card, White and Okada. This is another low key like feud of the year for me. Is White and Okada because I just love Jay White, man.
Your man love of Jay White is well told, but he was the Podmania Hit Breakout Star 2018 for our very, very prestigious awards. But his year and his storytelling, and we've talked about this many times before, he debuted again at Wrestle Kingdom 12 and had a very, in many people's opinions, subpar match against Tanahashi. I don't think it was subpar, I just don't think it had the build that the Omega Jericho match and the Okada Naito match had.
Look at that feud. It was dead in the water because you debut on the same show you debut Jericho, and then you have it follow Jericho. So it's sort of like, I'm not being funny, and like many people's that. Like I think if you I haven't rewatched that match in a bubble. Like if I'm rewatching it, I've rewatched it as part of the whole show. Like if we rewatched it in a bubble, we'd be like, yeah, that's a really good Jay White Tanahashi match.
I think as well, it's the first Jay White match. We're not whereas now we know his style. We know that he is a slow, methodical, almost cold performer who will literally take apart a limb for an entire match. And you have to watch a Jay White match. You can't be on your phone. You have to watch him. And I don't think people were ready for that. However, here, after the year he'd had, the build he'd had, the G1 he'd had, the spiraling down of Okada once he'd lost the title and how Jay White figured into that, and then just the culmination of that feud. The only real blood feud on this card, it was perfect storytelling. And we said at the end of 2018 that Jay White needed a star-making performance to cement him as one of the pillars of New Japan, and this was it for me.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, this is like started a proper running theme of hitting the Blade Runner out of other people's finishes, which I love.
Yes.
It totally eclipsed their G1 match. And you know what was my favourite part? Okada taking the pants off. Which
still to this day, and we are recording this on December the 14th, is still getting little pops, which is just fantastic.
I loved that the G1 night one in California where he took it off and people were like, yes! Pants!
Take it off!
Take it off. Take it off. Anyway, also that video that Jason made of it was a Japanese pub during the World Cup, but he just green screened Okada taking the pants off, and Meltzer thought it was no, literally Dave Meltzer thought it was real.
Oh God.
Which I find hilarious.
Amazing.
And I'm surprised Jason didn't have that in his bio. It was like, I tricked Dave Meltzer. But yeah, even before we got into the main event, even the undercard here was really good. For 2 tag matches were really well worked. We still had good guy Tamatonga at this point, who was a treasure, and I miss him.
It's the first time we saw the Power Rangers gear that the Guerrillas of Destiny insist on wearing.
Yeah, the Super Sentai gear. I love it.
I agree with you. I think the junior tag match was better. It was a nugget of fun. They didn't get a lot of time, but the time they used well.
They got just a shade under 7 minutes, and I guess it makes sense, but also I wish because Desperado and Kanemaru had quite a long reign, so I wish they sort of had a bit more time and maybe a one-on-one, because we literally had this match 2 months before a Power Struggle. So
yeah. Disappointing matches for me. We've talked to death about Juice and Cody. I'm not getting into that again, but something that really disappoints me, and you know this, and you know what's coming, is Ishimori and Kushida for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Now, I might be completely out of line by saying it disappointed me, but in the build, this was my sleeper hit of the night, and I don't know whether it was because they weren't given enough time or because the type of match they were trying to work didn't fit in that 11 or 12-minute match, or whether it was because Kushida would be ultimately out of the company. I don't know. It felt a bit flat, Chris.
It didn't really gel well, did they? Which is weird, because you'd imagine they would. But it sort of felt more like the start of a trilogy rather than a blow-off.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it was almost a certainty that Kushida was dropping the belt, and I don't know whether that took out of it, but I just feel the match that these two should have been quicker and, I don't know,
Look better. At the Hiromu Kushida one from 2 years ago.
Exactly. And Ishimori is as quick as Hiromu. Yes, he's not as car crash wrestler as Hiromu, but he is as quick, if not quicker, than Hiromu. So it should have gelled a little bit better. But that's a personal nitpick. I know there were plenty of people in the internet wrestling community that really enjoyed that match, and that's fine.
The match I got 6 out of 10, which normally denotes a bad match because people are fucking marks. Who thinks anything under 4 stars is a bad match? But main event. What a match.
First time the G1 Climax winner had actually gone on to win the belt, and something that we need to point out that on this show, every belt that was fought for changed hands, and it was the first time that had ever happened. And you said it before, Chris, it was a hard reset for New Japan, and I think that, as much as anything, cemented the fact that the Elite, including Kenny, were on their way out. This match, though, in a bubble, sensational.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible. Tanahashi should not be able to go as well as he did in this match.
After this and possibly one other match, he couldn't. So,
well, yeah, there is that. In the lead up to this, the feud wasn't great. The feud was a bit stunted, and I don't know whether it's because of just their personal dislike of each other, or whether it's because Kenny is so, for lack of a better phrase, Kenny, and on Twitter and all that. I don't know. The feud leading into it, yeah, is the best way of describing it, Chris.
It was a mix of kayfabe and reality without it. Like, we didn't find that perfect mix.
No, they didn't. Not at all. Not at all.
Like, you can argue for like wrestling style. Tanahashi does it all the time, but yeah, just like this story was told better in the G1 with Kota Ibushi, overcoming, going, I don't have Kenny style or Tanahashi style and stuff like that. This wasn't done well here. That being said, though, like on TV, it was still built up well, like with that tag match in Korakuen with Ospreay and Ibushi.
What an outstanding match!
I think it's really good, yeah. But no, like when it comes to actually this match, just, Jesus.
39 minutes and 13 seconds they
According
went.
to Rob, that's the longest Wrestle Kingdom match of all time.
I went off what was said on commentary. I'm sure that was what was said off commentary. Maybe I was wrong. I apologise, people. Chris, let it go.
Why do you listen to Kevin Kelly's stats?
Because this year he has massively improved. I like Kevin Kelly.
He's massively improved because he's like Chris Charlton next to him.
And in fairness, Gino Gambino, he's really grown on me.
Yeah, I hated him when he turned up. It was doing Super Juniors, wasn't it? No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. Was he? I can't remember.
No, because wasn't it Juice and Chris Charlton?
Yeah, oh yeah, well, it's weird for something like, because also Caprice Coleman did it sometimes.
Yeah, that was very random.
And to be fair, when he saw Big Move and he went, "Oh my God," it was the best thing. But like when Gino first turned up, I was like, "Oh fuck off!" And so like, I remembered the name. It's because he turned up on a Progress show one time, for Trent Seven's Open Challenge, but. Yeah, he's gotten better. Like, he's found his groove.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, Hiroshi Tanahashi became the IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
One thing I did like a story very quickly was the fact that they kept pointing out that Tanahashi's ring gear has a space for the IWGP Championship.
This is what makes me love Chris Charlton. With Chris Charlton, there is a backstory and a little tidbit for absolutely fucking everything, and it makes this product so immersive. He's such an unsung hero of New Japan.
He's like a regular fight commentator, like, and he treats it like that. It's like, okay, so this is what else has happened in this building. This is why this match has so much importance. Like, he'll put a story where there's not a story, which I think is a sign of a great commentator.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wish they did every tour, because they don't.
He's been on most tours recently, towards the tail end of the year.
He'll randomly not be on them, and then, like, be replaced by, like, Rocky Romero. And I'm not being funny, I like Rocky as a colour guy. But, like, he's not an analyst.
No, an analyst he certainly is not. But I assume the trio that we are going to get at Wrestle Kingdom is going to be Kevin Kelly, Gino Gambino, and Chris Charlton. And much as I'll miss Don Callis, I think that works, to be perfectly honest. They've been the voice of New Japan for a while.
Yeah. I do miss Don, but...
Oh, yeah, I miss Don. But, we miss Steve Corino as well. So, there is that.
Steve Corino was Kevin Kelly's best partner. Super kick!
We move on then the next day, and we are heading into New Year Dash on the 5th of January. Of course, this is the time when nothing is announced until the day, and has usually been New Japan's way of kickstarting every single storyline heading into the new year. And of course, over the last few years, we've had Jericho attack Naito, we've had Jay White turn on Kenny Omega. Even before that, we've had the return of Suzuki-gun. This year, it was centered around three storylines. The return from injury of Yoshihashi to have the absolute technical masterclass of a year that he has. We've had the setting up of the feud between Suzuki-gun and LIJ, which we'll circle back to in a moment and get Chris's thoughts on, because I know he loves one particular moment of that match, and the ascension of Jay White. And it was here for me that I realised, holy shit, he's going to win the championship.
Yeah, it did feel like that, didn't it? Like, there's still that little niggle in the back of our heads where it's like, nah, not this soon. Like, we were down for it because we love Jay White. But yeah, he didn't get the run he deserved, but we'll get to that.
We will get to that. And you're right, there was that nagging doubt, like, Tanahashi's really only going to have the belt for a few days? No, it's Tanahashi. And it led to an excellent match at the New Beginning in Osaka, which we'll get to shortly. Want to look at this Suzuki-gun versus LIJ feud, Chris? And do you want to talk about that moment? That moment you love?
Taichi, the best in the world, undisputedly the most brutal member of Suzuki-gun. Don't believe me, go look at that chair shot.
So you really think, in a stable that includes Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, and Lance Archer, that Taichi is the most brutal?
Yes. He attacks you on all fronts, including luck. Yeah, I love Taichi, and I was really looking forward to this match. Shame, really, but yeah, this is that match I was most hyped for going into New Beginning.
Yeah, so let's head into that New Beginning show then.
Very quickly, New Year's Dash. I liked how Chucky T got jealous of Trent Beretta's mum.
Yeah, this was in amongst the random, very, very random, Chucky T randomly going mental part of New Japan, which apparently he's come out in an interview now and said that there was absolutely no storyline behind it whatsoever. Gedo apparently just approached him and said, what if you went a little bit mental during matches?
Yeah, I'm starting to lose faith in Gedo as a booker. Like, they're not being funny. Half the decisions he's made this year, if it was made a year in advance, he's not a good booker.
I disagree with you, but we can get onto that very shortly.
He can't juggle more than 2 divisions at a time.
But
without, the other one suffering.
But those 2 divisions, man, are absolutely insane.
But yeah, very quickly before we got into New Beginning also, Fantastica Mania was fun. I watched a fair bit of it. There was a great match in Korakuen between the former Sin Cara and Volador Jr. Like, proper, really fun lucha match. I'd recommend it. Go out your way. It's like an 8 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10, depending how much you like lucha.
Fun lucha things.
Yes, woo.
So, on the lead up to the New Beginning, we obviously had the announcement that Kushida will be leaving and heading off to NXT. We'd sort of had our suspicions aroused during that 6-man tag match, probably the best match on the New Year Dash show, to be perfectly honest, where he'd fist bumped Will Ospreay after the match had finished, and he would then announce it, and he'd have his final retirement match with Hiroshi Tanahashi, which was great, Chris.
It was really good, like proper technical stuff, and I kind of miss Kushida now because NXT are in the process of doing dick all with him. Like, he basically, I don't watch NXT every week, but every time I tune in, he's either doing a squash match or getting beaten by Walter. So,
I mean, everyone's been beaten by Walter, apart from Drew McIntyre, obviously, at Survivor Series.
I'm going to fucking murder you when we get to Blackpool. Oh, real quick, did you see what got his shit stolen? So he wrestled an Evolve show in his pants.
No, that's amazing.
He literally his shit got stolen, including the NXT UK Championship. So he's just wrestled in his underwear.
Oh my god, Walter in his underwear is just such a terrifying prospect.
Exactly. Despite the fact he's not in fight gear and he's barefoot, it somehow makes them more scary.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, it's like, imagine if Suzuki turned up half naked.
Yeah.
Speaking of, new beginning.
New beginning. We head into the new beginning shows then. The first 2 nights in Sapporo on the 2nd and 3rd of February in the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center. 2 nights mainly centered around the Suzuki-gun LIJ feud. So looking at night 1, the main 2 matches were 2 special singles matches between Evil and Zack Sabre Jr., having an Evil versus Zack Sabre Jr. match, which I'm never, ever, ever going to complain about.
It's sort of made up of the fact that we didn't get this at King of Pro Wrestling.
Absolutely. And then Suzuki versus Sanada. And Chris, you preferred the Suzuki and Sanada match?
Yeah, I think that's mostly down to style. Like, it was more brutal. Honestly, I couldn't tell you why. I just have I was looking through my notebook when I was preparing for this, and it has a highest. Like, I gave it an 8, and I gave the other one a 7. So, like, I must have liked it more. I could not tell you why, but I did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive mark for both Evil and Zack Sabre Jr., so, you know, I really like their matches. They don't seem to have bad matches, and I think their styles gel well, and they had a bit of storyline going forward. So, yeah, I personally preferred that match. Aside from those 2 matches, this was a very missable show, and to be perfectly honest...
up with Tiger Mask.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, these 2 shows were 2 of the poorer main shows that New Japan put out.
Like, on the poorer side, until we get to actually no, this isn't even I was gonna say until we got to Kizuna Road, but some decent stuff in Kizuna Road, wasn't there? So
yeah, we then added into night 2, and the Suzuki-gun vs. LIJ feud continued. We had the junior tag match with Shingo and Bushi retaining again over Kanemaru and El Desperado. We then had, and this is really, really disappointing for me, we had the heavyweight tag match between Evil and Sanada, the current champions, and Zack and Suzuki. Now, our indifference towards the New Japan tag division is well documented, and I think every New Japan fan's indifference to the tag division is well renowned. And I think New Japan here, this was the first misstep for me. They had the chance here to put the belts on a new team, which the heavyweight tag division is crying out for, and we didn't. We defaulted. Evil and Sanada won in a fairly unremarkable match, if I'm being perfectly honest. You look at the names in that match and you expect an absolute barnstormer. It was relatively by the numbers, Chris.
Yeah, it wasn't anything near as good as 3 separate singles matches, and also nowhere near as good as the junior match before, but that's mostly because the junior match before had Shingo, so it's really not fair to
the laughably junior heavyweight Shingo.
Yeah, fucking, it's like saying Garth 17. Like, it's just no one's going to believe you. It's such an amazing lie that you just kind of want to go along with it.
We then moved on to the main event, which was the match we built most to during the Dash show, and this was the IC title match between the champion Naito and Taichi. Chris, what are your views on this match?
I'm glad Izuka's gone, Rob. Mostly because I had to listen to you have the same rant about him every fucking week.
Izuka was shit.
Yeah, and when you did the top 5 Izuka matches for the website, I don't get you. But so yeah, basically Izuka destroyed Naito. Taichi went around gathering heat for like what felt like 30 minutes, and then they had a really good match, but like the 10 minutes of nothing sort of destroyed it.
I understand that Taichi is a heel. I understand the type of heel that Taichi is, but even a man as charismatic as Taichi is, and you know I've come around to Taichi this year. I think he's had an absolutely great year. He's been a really undervalued member of the roster this year, in my opinion, especially as, well, we'll get on to Wrestle Kingdom 14's announced cards, but the fact that he hasn't got a specific, a special slot on either night is absolutely baffling. That's beside the point.
I'm disgusted.
But even a man of Taichi's charisma can't pull off 10 minutes of riffing. It's just not on, especially not for an IC title.
No, exactly. I have no clue why they did this. Like, in retrospect, it makes no booking sense. Although, one thing I don't know if it was this match or the next big Taichi match, but this is when Miyawabi started cleaning up after Taichi.
Oh, she is such a sweetheart.
She is like, it's unbelievable that those two are together. Not in real life, actually. Apparently, Taichi's dating a Mass Joshi in real life, which is somehow more perfect. But yeah, like I don't understand. He'll make a mess, and she's like, "Sorry, I'm just gonna get this away now."
One of the sweetest things of this year is Lance Archer screaming at Miyawabi and her just cowering against the fence, and you're just like, "Don't scream at Mio, Lance."
Like what? That's so mean. Yeah, because Miyawabi just sort of completes the Taichi character.
100%, 100%. Yeah, these two nights in Sapporo were just Road 2 shows, to be perfectly honest, because there was no chance Naito was going to drop the IC belt to Taichi here. Unfortunately, I don't think Taichi had been built up enough to be the IC champion at this point. I think the never sort of scene was his scene at that point. I was so disappointed with the tag match.
Well, I feel this was like, if this was booked way in advance, this was meant to be with Suzuki in the main event and Taichi in the tag match. But then they saw how little chemistry Naito and Suzuki had, so they were just sort of like, nah, put a pin in that.
And we saw that so often in 2018 as well. We didn't need to see that again.
And it was never good.
No, it wasn't. Absolutely not. And again, you look at the talent, Suzuki and Naito, and the match should be an absolute fucking barnstormer, and it wasn't. It never was. You're right.
I mean, I don't get why, but they just didn't gel.
No, they didn't, and it's a disappointment. But you felt that these two nights were simply precursors to the 11th of February, which was the New Beginning in Osaka show. Now, this started the main matches with, randomly, a really, really good junior heavyweight championship match between the new champion Ishimori and Taguchi. Where the fuck did this come from, Chris?
I don't know, because like Taguchi hasn't done anything good in years. Like even in Super Juniors, he's sort of just is a bit of a Yano figure. So like I don't get. It just reminded me though, like I think it was when he was feuding with Kenny for the junior title. Kenny Omega cut a promo in English, and Taguchi just took him out and went, "I don't speak English."
Yeah, he proved he could go in this match.
Yeah, he could keep up with Ishimori, which is no easy feat.
No, absolutely not.
And then, like, it's weird. Like, there's not a ton to say. It was just a really surprisingly good match. Like, nothing, like 8 out of 10. Like, not a massive barn burner, but like on any of the other shows for New Beginning, this would have stolen the show. So.
Oh, absolutely. We then got Okada and Fale in a special singles match in the semi-main, with Okada confirming his crown as the only man who can pull Fale to a decent match.
Yeah, he went 18 minutes with Fale, and it was interesting. So.
The one spot that I remember going back to that show is a back body drop from Fale, and Okada went fucking flying.
Like, proper AJ Styles self of a back body drop there.
Yeah, the air time that he got was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Remember that meme where someone gets thrown, it's like dun 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 dun. You could make one of them out of Okada's backdrop.
I agree. We then got to the main event, which we sort of alluded to earlier, which was the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match between Tanahashi and Jay White. And Jay White took the belt, Chris.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, great. It was a Jay White match, and I love a Jay White match, and it involved Tanahashi being beat. And I like it when Tanahashi gets beat. So, yay. I was really excited at the time. Honestly, there's a lot of people going, he didn't, like people I know who are massive into the product, like people I know who watch like other Road 2 shows even, going, he doesn't deserve it. I'm like, what the fuck are you on about?
They strapped a rocket to him.
They did, but I think it kind of works. Like, he has a very different style, like really, really different style. You like have to be into the Jay White style to enjoy it, I guess. But also, he's just so like he's one of these people who wrestles and like doesn't let a flaw happen in the match. like, I understand it doesn't always lead to like an exciting, explosive match, but it leads to a very interesting match to watch. Like, you can feel smarter noticing little things in the Jay White match, and like his ability for selling convinces me he'll be an amazing babyface one day.
I don't want to see him as a babyface, though. He is such a convincing heel.
Yeah, he's such a... Like, to be fair, though, some of his stuff does get over quite comical. Like, no, Goto.
My favourite moment of this year. Yeah, we had the moment, the rather infamous moment, where Tanahashi goes for the high fly flow, and it's countered into the Blade Runner. You loved that moment. I liked it. I thought it looked a little bit clunky, but it continued Jay White's amazing sort of reversing everything into the Blade Runner phase that he was going through at the time.
It's not as bad as the I'm going to find creative ways to knock out Red Shoes every time.
No, that's very true. But yes.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, just great. Very quickly, Rob, did you watch any of the New Beginning from the USA shows?
I watched none of them, no.
No, neither did I. What even happened on those shows? Keep talking while I find out.
Well, I suppose we should probably mention the fact that New Japan announced that they were going to do US New Beginning shows and then couldn't bring half the talent over because there was visa issues.
Yeah, because the government shutdown sort of ruined the process of getting visas.
Yes, because they'd sort of half announced that Nagata versus Ishii, which was a hot feud coming out of Dash, was going to happen on the New Beginning in US shows, and then we couldn't get either of them there.
Right, okay. From the Globe Theatre, 531 people in attendance. Jesus. There was Alex Clarkland versus Clark Connors to a time limit draw. Gresham versus Tyler Bateman. Colt Cabana versus Shane Taylor. This is a Ring of Honor show. Killer Elite Squad versus Villain Enterprises with Brody King and Mike Skill.
I imagine that was quite good.
It doesn't come recommended. So.
Maybe not then.
Jeff Cobb versus Carl Fredericks. David Finlay versus Chucky T. And Lifeblood of Juice Robinson and Tracy Williams versus Roppongi Vice.
Really? They brought back Roppongi Vice for it? Wow.
Well, just anyone who has visas, I guess. Clark Connors versus Carl Fredericks. And this is for the New Beginning in North Carolina. Colt Cabana and John Schuyler versus Lance Archer and Shane Taylor. Great O'Khan, which is
Okay.
So he came down from his mountain, beating Tracer X. Villain Enterprises of Brody King and Mike Skill beating Jeff Cobb and Jonathan Gresham. David Boy Smith beating Alex Clarkland. David Finlay and Tracy Williams beating Chucky T and Rocky Romero. And Juice Robinson beating Beretta for the US Championship. And then on Tag 3, which only has a handful of matches. Why didn't they bring PCO in? Bastards. Carl Fredericks versus Alex Collagen again. Lance Archer and Shane Taylor versus defeating Colt Cabana and Gresham. Oka beating Bravado. Mike Skill beating Clark Connors. Half his card is fucking Young Lions. Jeff Cobb versus Brody King beats Brody King, and David Finlay, Juice Robinson, and Tracy Williams beating Rocky, Chucky D, and Beretta. So, like, these aren't awful cards.
They aren't, but they aren't the sort of shows that make you want to go to, because you're right, they are Ring of Honor shows.
Basically Ring of Honor shows, yes.
And again, it's depending on what side of the fence you fall down on, it's either New Japan's fault for not getting it sorted sooner, or it's completely not their fault and out of their hands because they submitted the paperwork for the visas in the same amount of time that they always have done. And, chance, unfortunately, was not on their side. It depends
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the middle as well. I think they could have submitted the visas earlier. I think if they had people on the inside that knew that, there was going to be issues, they should have submitted it earlier, but that's beside the point.
Anyway, Honor Rising.
Well, Honor Rising were crap. The shows were shit.
That's a bit far. They were fine shows.
No, they weren't, Chris. They were shit. We had Goto and Cobb having a disappointing match. We had...
Wait. Very quickly in that, I did enjoy that that Goto suddenly became a Suzuki Gun member because he was throwing young boys at Cobb.
Yes, he randomly suplexed a young boy onto Jeff Cobb.
It's like, that's a very Kanemaru move. Skill and Narita had a really good match on night one.
Umino and Zack Sabre Jr. had a good match.
Yeah, they were both like 7 out of 10s. Gresham goes back, surprise roll up with Liger beating Ishimori.
Which led to a great match at the anniversary show, which we'll get to in a moment.
It's slightly sad because I want to see Gresham mix it up with Ishimori. Were they in the same block in Super Genius? No, they weren't, were they?
I can't remember, Chris, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, anyway, Lifeblood. Was Lifeblood?
I mean,
Cheeseburger was there, that's always fun.
the main thing you've got to take from these shows is that Ring of Honor's tag belts were rated more highly than their championship belt, which is it's just ridiculous. And unfortunately, this tag match led to David Finlay injuring his shoulder and being out from February up until October. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, led him to missing out on what was a nailed-on New Japan Cup slot. The chance of him being in the G1, very slim. But yeah, unfortunate for David Finlay. Really, really disappointing. We then had...
I think the Tanahashi, Lethal, Okada versus the Kingdom match was really good.
I disagree.
I just like seeing Lethal.
I hate the Kingdom. I think they are useless workers.
I think Taven's a good worker.
No, I disagree. I disagree
He's
on
not
many levels.
He's not spectacular, but he's capable. I don't think he should have been the champion.
Oh, we'll get to that.
But also Goto, Ospreay versus Dalton Castle and Cobb, pretty good.
I mean, you're really, really digging for good matches here.
I am. There was a disappointing match on night 2 between MySkill and Robbie Eagles that wasn't given any time at all.
No, and it's a shame because obviously Robbie Eagles at the time was still part of the Bullet Club, and that dynamic of Marty Skull was in the Bullet Club, and Robbie Eagles is the new Bullet Club junior member that they brought in because apparently Marty couldn't get the job done, or as part of that storyline. I think it's quite disappointing that they weren't given a little bit more time. Also, during this sort of period on the 21st of February, Izuka retired in typically disappointing fashion in a 6-man tag with Tenzan, which tells you all you need to know. He attempts to tell Izuka to come back to the light side. Izuka looks like he's going to do it, then bites Tenzan and fucks off into the crowd, never to be seen again. And that's all I'm going to say about that show.
Like sometimes people just bump into him.
It was not a great show. We then moved on to the 47th anniversary show from the 6th of March, and this was a very, very good card, Chris.
Yes. Just starting from like halfway up. Well, Dragon Lee was on it, which is always fun. I remember watching, it was Dragon Lee, Taguchi, Kojima, Tiger Mask, and Homna versus Desperado, Suzuki, Taichi, Mitsunoka, and Kanemaru. My niece walked in and sat down, and she's like, they're very over the top in Japan, aren't they?
She's not wrong.
I mean, yeah, but to be fair, she was seeing Tiger Mask mixing up with Desperado, so I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, true.
The Virginia heavyweight match on this card was really, really, really good.
The match between
Roppongi Fouquet
versus
LIJ was really good. Just anything where Shingo is mixing up with Sho, I'm down with.
Yeah, and this led to what will be an absolutely outstanding Best of the Super Juniors match, leading on to the Best of the Super Juniors Night 1. Then we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship between Liger and Ishimori, which was fucking fantastic.
Like, I watched this and went, oh yeah, Liger used to be amazing. And, like, he still is, but, like, again, on any other card, this would have stolen the show. Like, it felt like the old Liger was back.
Yeah, the fact that this man could still go made the announcement that he made the day after even more alarming, really, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's like his last IWGP Junior tag match, Junior shot, so...
And we then had the special match between Jay White and Will Ospreay, which was another fantastic match.
Like, you wouldn't expect these two styles to get along, but they really did.
He really did. Really
They're
did.
Will Ospreay showing his incredible feats of strength. Jay White showing that he's just the fucking man. Wasn't massive on his red and white attire though. I think it's a bit ugly. I did like the year before. Whenever he goes out against Tanahashi, it's red and black because he's calling back to Nakamura to annoy Tanahashi.
He's just such a clever performer. I love it.
He's a dick. But yeah, like again, this is another one where I think it was the Oz cutter into the Blade Runner. This it was real good. The highlight to me was when Ospreay did his flip over into a powerbomb.
Yes, very GIF worthy.
So gifable, giferific, giftastic. Yeah, just I mean, like honestly, if this was for the championship, it'd be a 10 out of 10. But unfortunately, it sort of had no stakes. So.
Yeah, and because it had no stakes, you sort of knew that White was winning.
This was even if this was in the G1. This would, or even like in a tournament setting or for a title, this would be a 10. But like I understand, it just has to be a 9 or sort of like an amazing showcase match. It's better than Ospreay versus Okada from the year before.
It really, really disappoints me that it doesn't classify as a Switchblade title defense.
He really should have just defended it. But then again, like, if they did that, it couldn't have kept Ospreay and the Genius. So.
No, that is very true. The day after this, as we alluded to earlier, Jushin Thunder Liger announced that he would be retiring on January the 5th, 2020, on the second night of Wrestle Kingdom 14 after 30 years of in-ring competition. It sort of took the world a little bit by surprise. I mean, he is 54, which, you know, he's not getting any younger, but again, he just proved that he could go in a fantastic match with Ishimori. But then I suppose once you've had a match like that, you've got to realise, do I want to go out, you know, on a relative high, or do I want to go out, you know, no offence to him, like Nakanishi or Honma, who, you know, I don't want to say they're laughing stocks because that's not fair, but they can't go. There's nothing left in those two performers, and I'm sure that was in the back of Liger's mind. Do I want to be remembered for matches like this, or do I want to carry on for another couple of years and risk, you know, being remembered as someone who hung on too long? Either way, it was really disappointing, Chris.
Yeah. You know what else was disappointing, Rob?
Go on.
The New Japan Cup.
Do you know what? Your segue, you're learning from the best. I love your segueing. Yes. The New Japan Cup from March 8th to March 24th expanded for the first year from 16 competitors to 32. First things first, Chris, was this a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I've pulled the brackets up, Rob. Some of the classic matches in the first round this year include Minoru Suzuki versus Satoshi Kojima.
That's a good match.
No, fair enough. It's actually pretty decent. But then we have Goto versus Sanada, which bored me to tears.
Yeah, it had the premise, it had the promise.
That's every Goto match. It has the promise to be good, but unless it's at Wrestle Kingdom, fuck you.
Yeah, true.
Toriano versus Davey Boy Smith, and what would be Davey Boy Smith's last tour.
Yep, he would quit soon after due to his booking, and to be honest, he had just lost to Yano for, I believe, the second out of 3 years.
Let me double check this. Yano, they didn't face Yano in New Japan Cup in 2016, but yeah, he did in 20. So yeah, 2 years, 2 losses to Yano in the first round. But
outstanding.
Chase Owens versus Juice Robinson, which was surprisingly good, but also went about 10 minutes too long.
Yep, true.
There's Taichi versus Homna, which I like.
I didn't. I thought 17 minutes was far too long for those two, especially Honma.
You know what though? One thing I like about Honma is when he's wearing like his samurai gear and takes it off, and Kevin Kelly goes, "Oh, it's Honma."
The Kokeshi doll costume.
Yeah, I love it. I just love that look. Oh, it's Honma. I wanted to do that. To be fair, Ospreay beat Balak Vale in a big victory.
And the commentary team actually did a fantastic job of selling that, because they said that Fale had never been defeated in the first round of the New Japan Cup. Sort of telegraphed it a little bit, but it built that match a little bit more for me.
Umino had a decent match with Tanahashi, but like for the most part, Mikey Nichols was Mikey Nichols. And tell you what, though, match of the first round for me: Ishii versus Nagata. Great match.
Oh god, yeah, and it's still one of my matches of the year because it was just it was a little feud that didn't go too long as well. Yeah, it was strong style, like you say, and fucking hell was it. And it's an Ishii match and a Nagata match. Just, you don't need much imagination to imagine what that was like. But the fact that after that match they showed respect to each other and it was done, that one match, really, really good.
The second round,
well,
I'm not going to everything. But Ishii versus Taichi was really good.
Another fantastic Ishii match. Was Ishii the MVP of the tournament, do you reckon?
No, Taichi.
Genuinely.
I can feel the hatred.
There's so much hatred for you right now.
Okada versus Mikey Nichols was shit. Like, it was a Randy Orton special. And Mikey Nichols used the big ending for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that, if I'm perfectly honest. Very, very confusing.
Ospreay versus Archer was decent. Not as good as a match they'd have later on down the line, but Cabana and Yano was a fun little distraction. I can still feel the hatred.
Yeah, it's the inherent issue with expanding the bracket to 32 competitors was that New Japan didn't have the competitors to fill up 32 slots, and this is embodied in the fact that Colt Cabana got through to the quarter fucking finals.
But there was two really, really good matches in terms of Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr., which loved it. That's my match of the tournament. And like seriously, just Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kota Ibushi is basically my fucking kink at this point.
Don't forget Ibushi and Naito from round one.
Oh fuck yeah, I did. To be fair, that's probably because it's the most tame of there.
Still a great match.
Yeah, it's still a great match. And still power driver on the apron and there. And also Suzuki versus Sanada, which may have went a bit too long. Like, can trim 5 minutes off this match, but still was really enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Ishii pulled out Yoshihashi's best match.
Yep.
And Okada and Ospreay had a disappointing match, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I remember you saying this at the time you weren't hot on this match.
No, it just felt like nothing.
Which is disappointing because their 47th anniversary show was a decent... Sorry, 46th anniversary match. Was a good match.
48, 8 or 9 out of 10. It was really good. And then the G1 match happened and everything just has to fuck off at that point. And then
everything
Cabana
was right in the world.
Finally got chucked out of the New Japan Cup.
Yeah.
I don't mind Cabana. I think he's a good worker and a great comedy wrestler.
I think he works well with Yano in a tag team setting, and I think that should be where he is. I don't think he should be pushing single.
You're only saying that because it's the only thing you enjoyed about Tag League.
It's not just that. It's not that. It's the fact that the New Japan Cup, and you've mentioned this before, the New Japan Cup is the tournament where, surprises happen. Anyone could win it. Zack Sabre Jr. has won it. Shibata.
Not this year.
This year, it was always going to be Okada because the winner got a shot at MSG.
It's for MSG, so it's Okada or Tanahashi.
Exactly, because you need to main event MSG. You've already got Switchblade, who is a relative rookie. He's just won the title. He's probably not capable of selling out MSG on his own against anyone, as against Ishii, for example. But, it's part of the Okada redemption storyline. It was always made to be Okada. And to be perfectly honest, aside from his Ishii semi-final, which was an absolute banger.
Unbelievable. But to be fair, you're going to say he had a disappointing tournament. Look at who the fuck he was against. To be fair, he was against, like in the first round, he was against an unmotivated Elgin who was just about to leave. Again,
though, Elgin and Okada have fantastic chemistry. They have had great matches, so this was disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's a very unmotivated Elgin because he's about to leave.
He's got Mikey Nichols in the next round, which
it's like trying to draw water from a stone.
But then he had Ospreay.
And then that was really disappointing.
So...
literally, I was like, I'm not feeling Okada tournament. Ospreay's up next. This should be great. Nope, it was fine.
Yeah, it's not a bad match. It's probably a 7, but it wasn't the match we expected it to be.
No, but again, his Ishii match was probably my third favorite. Actually, but to be fair, there's a lot of really good matches in this tournament. Just also a lot of filler. It's
Yeah.
like the equivalent of Power Rangers, where when it's great, but also there's a lot of filler.
Again, an inherent problem of expanding the bracket when you don't have the resources to expand the brackets.
Yes, also an inherent problem. Where was Good Guy Tamatonga?
Do you really want to see Tamatonga in this tournament?
I want to see Good Guy Tamatonga in this tournament.
Sonata versus Tanahashi, the other semi-final.
That was fine. Too long, but fine.
And we moved on to the final, the 5-star Dave Meltzer rated final, which went 33 minutes and 7 seconds and was the first of the Okada-Sonata quadrilogy from this year. Great match, Chris. Great match.
Proper good. Started off probably New Japan feud of the year, so can't complain.
No, not at all. And again, would have 4 great matches as the year progressed. So this obviously was all to crown Jay White's basically contender in the main event at the MSG, and this culminated at the G1 Supercard on the 6th of April 2019, a joint show with Ring of Honor at Madison Square Garden. This show, and again, we reviewed it, this show was very much a show of 2 bits. You had a great New Japan side and a fucking woeful Ring of Honor side, Chris.
Yeah, okay, let's just run this down so we can get it fucking over with. So first of all, I'm very sad we didn't show the Dark 6-person tag, because you know what it is?
Go on.
Jenny Rose, Hazuki, and Kagetsu versus Hana Kimura, Stella Gray, and Sumi Sakai. No, Stella Gray, Sumi Sakai, and Jenny Rose can fuck off. Hazuki, Kagetsu, and Hana Kimura. Yay.
You're such a Stardom smark, it's untrue.
Okay.
The first issue I have with this tournament, I'm moving on from the Stardom shit. The first issue I have with the Ring of Honor booking is the Honor Rumble, where you have got Liger, who has just announced his retirement. He's on his retirement tour as he heads up to January 5th, 2020. And he is the last person eliminated from the Honor Rumble by Kenny fucking King. Now, I'm all for trying to build storylines. I'm all for trying to build heat. You had the perfect moment to give Liger that send-off. It's not even on the main fucking card. To give him that send-off to say, you are an absolutely outstanding competitor, one of the greats, one of the pioneers of the junior division, which he was, and he lost to Kenny fucking King.
There's some good parts in this Rumble. Haku.
Yes, Haku. Great mooter.
For some reason they didn't have the rights for Minoru Suzuki's song. I don't get that.
No, this was also disappointing.
Like, we have the rights for everything else.
Yeah, very, very disappointing.
DK O'Ryan was in there.
I don't want to talk about it. Genuinely, the Honor Rumble really, really winds me up for that reason.
To be fair, Vinny Marcellia's balloon spot was really fun. Right, okay, to the main card.
Thank you.
Jeff Cobb versus Will Ospreay. Great match.
Really, really good match. Fun opener. Little bit of a surprise that Cobb came out as the winner, but heading into Best of the Super Juniors, I suppose they didn't want Will Ospreay being the never openweight champion.
You forget, Rob, I clean sweeped Mania weekend.
You did clean sweep Mania weekend in our pay-per-view pick'ems. Well done. I'm still in the lead, but that's beside the point.
I think Mania week. I think we should, for weekends, we should put in fucking clean sweep points.
No.
Because it was really impressive, Rob. It's my biggest achievement this year. I mean, I did a degree, technically, but still.
A couple more of these matches then.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run down and ask for quick thoughts. Rush versus Dalton Castle.
What, the 18-second squash match?
15 seconds. And also, I kind of liked that. I kind of liked the arc it sent Dalton Castle on. For Ring of Honor fans, I'm sure Dalton Castle turning heel was a fun arc. It made Rush look very strong to an audience that might not have been exposed to him before. And yeah, I really hope Rush's title reign helps to turn Ring of Honor around, because I want to like Ring of Honor, Rob. But every time I try to watch, they have 2 problems. chiefly being their week-to-week product is a bit shit. Like a bit sterile, I'll say.
Yep, I agree.
And second of all, they can't decide if they want to do big event to big event or weekly. Because half the time, if something happens in a big event, it's not going to catch up on TV for another 2 or 3 weeks. So they need to sort out this fucking programming. Like, for example, remember last year when I was on the main podcast before, like, the two merged and the Young Bucks won the 6-man championships?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So at the Ring of Honor show I was at 2 weeks beforehand, they came out with the 6-man championships. Which is just such basic shit.
It's basic booking 101, isn't it?
It's such basic shit. And so I'm like, you can't do that. Like, just keep doing weekly shows then, and then like a few pay-per-views a year. Like, just stop. Anyway, Kelly Klein versus Mayu Iwatani, and now knowing what I know about Mayu, this puts so much shit on Kelly Klein's shoulders because this match was god awful.
Not only that, it led to an angle where the Allure debuted, so nothing about this feud, this match, or anything was good.
Yeah. What I will say is to Kelly Klein is if you can't take a reverse Rana, don't try.
No, it was very, very sloppy, and unfortunately, it wasn't the only sloppy spot of the night either.
Yeah. Mayu isn't especially like her kicks are crisp, but like she's known for like taking really bad bumps.
That Bea Priestley one, for example.
Jesus fucking Christ. The New York City street fight.
What a fucking car crash this was.
It was a car crash. It was something a bit different. Mark Haskins showed up, which I'm always down for.
But then it randomly turned into a 6-man.
Yeah, it did. It was very strange. Yeah, like when you look at anyone who could have answered Bully Ray's open challenge, like of course it was fucking. And then they announced beforehand it was Juice, and then it wasn't Juice. And then I remember you watching it. Like I watched it the night before, and you were watching it the morning of, and you were like, oh, I swear to fucking God, it was Flip Gordon. Oh, son of a bitch.
Again, they defaulted to the most boring culmination to something. I mean, you had Suzuki on the card.
Yeah, imagine like a Suzuki and Bully Ray deathmatch.
Oh, it would have been incredible. It would have been brilliant, but no.
You can't have nice things.
No, exactly.
But then the card gets too fair. But at this point, the card's not great, but the card's fun.
Yeah, I'll grant you that. Yes.
But then, great match. Ishimori defending his championship against Bandito and Dragon Lee.
High-paced, high-octane, probably didn't go long enough for me. What was it? It was only something like 8 minutes?
8 minutes 54.
And how long was the death match?
15.
I rest my case.
So, best part of this match, Rob, wasn't even part of the match. It was part of the commentary.
Oh, absolutely amazing, this. Absolutely amazing.
Bandito does like a world strongest slam position, like Spanish fly type thing. I've no clue what's called. But he was doing it from the second rope to both Dragon Lee and Ishimori. And Colt Cabana just shouts, "That's not a real move." Like almost disgusted. He's like, "That's not a real move."
They were obviously there was a lot of trying to heat Bandito up because it would be announced for Best of Super Juniors afterwards. But yeah, it was a great call. Absolutely brilliant.
Like great junior match. Could use more time, but we're still. I think we gave it a 9. I think we really liked it that much.
We did. Do you think it was the right choice though, giving the belt to Dragon Lee?
Given the matches we got, yes.
So, I mean, Ishimori went from Wrestle Kingdom to the G1 Supercard as champion and then lost the belt in 8 minutes. We have all said about how good Ishimori is. Do you think he deserved a little bit longer with the championship?
Maybe. After Super Juniors kind of faded into EOP's background.
Complete
so
insignificance, yeah.
We'll get on to that again to Super Juniors. The GOD, LIJ, Briscoe's Villain Enterprises match was disturbing.
The only thing that match, unfortunately, will ever be known for is the failed, botched attempt by Ring of Honor to debut Enzo and Cass.
They even tried
despite the fact that no other competitors knew that they were there.
Yeah, and which is bad because it should be remembered for PCO.
It should be remembered for that one PCO bump, yes.
And also PCO's entrance. Because I remember I kept trying to justify to you and Garth my love of PCO. And then I was like, do you see why I love PCO now?
PCO is great. But when the match is notable for 3 things and only 2 of those things are what happens in the match, it's not. Yeah. It's not essential Ring of Honor viewing. It's not essential New Japan viewing. Let's put it that way.
Unfortunately, Gorilla of Destiny, Tama Tonga, good guy, is gone, and I'm still sad about it, Rob. I really hope he brings it back.
It did lead to one of the greatest moments in internet wrestling history this year when Tama Tonga just launched the Ring of Honor tag team belts at the wall, saying "fuck Ring of Honor."
That was amazing, but also he could have done that further down the.
I love it. So we then moved on. I believe is it
CSJ versus Tanner next?
Yes,
I have a huge matchup for it. This is fine. It's fine. I'm sort of sick of this match. They wrestled a lot.
They did wrestle a lot, but when you've got the chemistry that they had, I don't think it's a bad thing, Chris.
Yeah, no. At this stage, I was fine with it. It's when they got to around Royal Quest when I was like, "Come on, lads."
Yeah, then had the rematch just over a week later, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with that. But also, Ibushi versus Naito was next, and that was a car crash in a good way.
In the best sense of the word, yeah.
These two really want to hurt each other. Yeah, really good. The best part being the Hurricane Rana off of the just ouchies.
Yeah, it's literally Neck Injury, the musical.
I hurt my neck. Matt Taven winning Ring of Honor Championship for Skilled and Lethal. This is a puzzling decision, and he had a very long reign. I can't speak to the quality of his reign. I haven't seen any of it. But from Ring of Honor fans I have talked to, it's sort of like, is it either really like Taven or really don't like Taven? It seems to be like a Baron Corbin type thing.
I just think that when you've got Marty Scurll, who is as hot as he is...
Oh yeah, he was really over.
He needed to be given the belt.
Apparently they were scared he was going to leave, but he was under contract for at least till the end of the year. So.
I was just going to say, even just give him a short towel reign. Just pop the crowd.
There was a lot of title changes for the sake of popping the crowd in here. So, also, the best part of this match was when the ladders were in an X and Lethal threw it out and it accidentally hit a fan, and the fans were chanting, "That's a lawsuit."
Yeah, that was amazing.
Probably not for the fan who got hit by 2 ladders. But, 29 minutes this could have went shorter.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, no ladder match could go 29 minutes and remain interesting, in my opinion.
No, if it's car crash TV, it needs to be done in 20.
Because after a while, there's only so many car crashes you can watch before you go, yay.
You become a little bit immune to it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like CZW, you become a CZW fan for the night. Okada versus Jay White, which was amazing, but I hate this fucking outcome.
We've talked about this before, Chris.
This is in my opinion, the Kofi and Bryan. So the 3rd best match of Mania weekend. Actually no, because Gargano went. Okay, so it's the 4th best match of Mania weekend. Which it's no small feat.
I think it's better. Match quality wise, it's better than Bryan versus Kofi, but obviously you've got the culmination of Kofi, you've got the emotion, so
you've got to put story into it. Also, Walter versus Dunn was my favourite of the weekend, to be fair, but that's because I'm a Brit Res Mark. But
they defaulted to the safest possible thing.
I'm not being funny. He's suffocating the championship. I was going to get into this when he did the whole, what do you think about the whole, but me and you have felt the need to seek out other Japanese wrestling products. We have not felt the need to do that in any other year.
No. And the issue that we had, when Jay White got the belt, we had the possibility of a lot of different challenges that we'd never seen, a lot of fresh matchups. At this point, Naito and Jay White hadn't faced off.
Neither had White and Ibushi. Even White versus G2 would have been a really fun program. I'm just looking at who's on the fucking card to tell you. White and Suzuki could have been great. White and Goto under the right contacts can be a really good match. White and Shingo when Shingo moved up. Ishii.
Exactly.
There's so many possibilities.
The problem is when you default back to a champion who, let's face it, won the belt held the belt for 720 days and has only just dropped it.
He's not been out of the championship picture for the whole time. The longest he's been out of the championship picture is like maybe a year. Like in a calendar year, Okada's going to have several shots or defenses of the championship.
And we got to a point where we were thinking, well, who's going to challenge Okada? We've seen all these matches, in the last couple of months, sorry. So there's nothing fresh. And it did feel a little bit stagnant. It did feel like it was suddenly, very predictable. I feel like they could have gone a lot longer with Jay White. I know that booking decisions that were made 2 years in advance, if you believe the way that Gato books.
I don't believe that.
Well, irrelevant of that, I believe that, and it's been widely publicised, that Omega, if he'd have stayed, was supposed to hold the belt until the G1 Supercard, and Okada would then take it back off Omega. And I think that would have been a better storyline, whereas here, we've simply got defaulted back. Yeah.
We could go on about this for a long time. We can get more into this as we get into Okada's reign throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just very quickly before we go on to Dentaki, there was two smaller events, Sangaki Lord and Hinakuni. So on Sangaki Lord, the main matches were Juice versus Fale, with going 17 minutes because Juice versus Fale is a long match waiting to happen. And Ibushi versus Zack, which I haven't seen, but you've told me is really good.
It's a 9-star match. I reviewed it for Rope Break in my brief time as a writer for Rope Break. And yeah, the show, apart from that, was very disappointing. I believe it also had Chase Owens versus Mikey Nichols on there, which was the most boring singles match I've ever seen.
Yeah. And then we moved on to Hinakuni, which there's an IWE tag match between GOD and Makabe and Yano. It's meh. And then White versus Goto, which is somewhat highly reviewed, but I think it's pretty fucking sterile.
I think, as well, this is the time when Goto sort of leaves for a while, too.
Yeah, this is where Goto leaves. So, anyway, on to... It was overall best for him, but we'll get into that when we get into the G1.
Yeah. Moving on to Dontaku, then. So 3rd and 4th of May at Fukuoka. Night 1.
Very quickly, what I like about night 1 is for some fucking reason, Roppongi 3K are tagging with Ibushi.
I don't mind that partnership, if I'm perfectly honest.
No, it's a good partnership, but it's like, why the fuck is this happening?
No, I agree.
But anyway, main matches on night 1. There's, of course, the traditional tag match with the main matches of the night after. And that was really fun, because of course it is, because there's Okada, Ishii with Evil and Sanada, so of course that was a really fun one. We finally had Taichi reaching his potential. Rob, this is the first time I saw you actually praise Taichi, and it was against Jeff Cobb.
It was a good match, very good match. I don't think that Jeff Cobb was given a fair reign with the title. Of course, it's the Never title, and we found out later in the year that the average amount of successful Never title defense is 1.2 or 1.3. So.
I think also what you need to factor in is the fact that Cobb's contracted to Ring of Honor, so he might just not have had the opportunity.
I don't know. We've seen Cobb a lot. He was obviously in the G1. He's been on tour since. And, we haven't seen that many Never title defenses in the last couple of months. So I don't see that as an excuse. But that's by the by.
IG. So, fuck your Cobb. And then we had what a match between Dragon Lee and Ishimori. I made Garth very excited on this because I was reviewing it with him. This was a week you weren't on. And he was like, I was trying to explain Dragon Lee. I'm like, imagine if Shibata and Rey Fenix had a baby.
And that's Dragon Lee?
Yeah.
I think that's a fair comparison. He's a strong striker. He's extremely flippy. So yeah, why not?
Great, absolutely great match. Some absolute car crashes like the Hurricane Rana to be outside from the inside. Great stuff. What did you think of this match?
This match was great. and it's if Ishimori had dropped the title here to Dragon Lee, I'd have been a little bit more for it. But obviously, I don't know. I was a little bit down on Ishimori losing it at MSG, but that's beside the point. I thought this match was high octane. It was great pace. It was given enough time. And yeah, really, really good match. It was great to see that a junior heavyweight championship match was headlining one of these shows because, if I'm perfectly honest, it's not headlined as much as it should do. And I think with the return of Hiromu and things, we could see that headlining a bit more.
Last time it headlined was in a Korakuen show, so it's like first time in front of a big crowd in a while.
Exactly.
Anyway, so night 2, El Fantasmo debuted, and that was about it. Ishii versus Evil was a really, really, really fun house match.
It was basically like two rhinos attacking each other, which is absolutely what I love about these two wrestlers. They have very, very good styles. They have two very good have extremely good chemistry, and you know their build. It had just been those two in 6-man tags just fucking hating each other, and it was great. It was really, really good. Acted as a bit of an unofficial number 1 contendership match to the Never Openweight Championship.
Well, it's not an official number 1 contendership match, though.
Say again?
There's never ever an official.
No, but you knew that whoever won this match would probably go on to face Taichi at Dominion. And that proved to be true. I think the correct person won. I think if you're one of your bigger shows, you need your better competitors. In that sort of 4, I don't think Evil is quite there yet. Though it'll be quite nice to see Evil with a singles title at some point because they seem to build him and build him and build him and then knock him back to the tag division in the same way they do Sonada. So that'll be interesting to see what that eventual single titles becomes, because I know he's held the Never Openweight Championship once, but it was very briefly.
He held it for 3 days and then dropped it because he basically wanted a title change in Singapore, so he won it and then dropped it in Singapore.
I think he dropped it to Shibata, didn't he?
Yeah, he won it from Shibata and then dropped it to Shibata.
So there you go.
When we have the main event, Okada and Sonata had what we now know as an Okada and Sonata match.
Yeah, the second match in their quadrilogy, which again, absolutely great match, but it gets lost in the shuffle because we've seen the match so many times. It's similar to the Zack and Hiroshi Tanahashi thing, where if you are asked, what's that match like? Well, I don't know, because unfortunately, even though their matches are absolutely amazing and I'm never going to turn down the opportunity to see those matches, it's a match we've seen before many times.
The only 2 that stand out are the 2 later in the year, actually. Like the New Japan Cup and the Dentaki matches sort of blur together for me. But,
exactly, and I think that their G1 match is probably their best match.
Yeah, and we'll get into that when we get into the G1 very soon. But first of all, Rob, before the G1, there's the mini G1, the best of the Super G1.
The best of the Super Juniors 26, from the 13th of May to the 5th of June. So, first of all, Chris, sweeping question, who is your MVP? Who is your MVP of the best of the Super Juniors?
Ospreay, obviously.
Really? Okay. Why?
No, I think because he had the best matches. Like if we're judging on like best matches, of course Ospreay went he had the best match with everyone in their block. Apart from, I preferred the Ren Narita Doki match because I like I sort of like Doki abusing the young boy.
We did see the debut of Doki, who obviously went on to challenge and win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
A Wikipedia page.
Obviously, Doki was a late replacement for El Desperado, who broke his jaw. And it was really sad to see that because I feel like Despi was probably going to be given a quite high-profile spot in that block. So Doki replaced him, and then I believe Flip Gordon was supposed to be in it as well, and he ended up injured as well, which led to Ren Narita having a real breakout here. A real breakout. Had really good matches.
He had really, nothing under a 7, so good for you, Ren Narita.
Yeah, fantastic.
Egos versus ELP was a sleeper hit.
Yeah, I was going to ask, actually, so if you take Block A and Block B separately, which was your favourite Block A match?
Block A match?
Block A match, so Shingo's block.
Shingo and Show.
I agree. I think Shingo and Show, the main event of night 1, it set the tournament up to be like, holy fuck, this is incredible.
That was the semi-main, the main event for night 1.
Oh, it was Ishimori and Dragon Lee, I apologise.
Yeah. In a match that wasn't quite as good as their the Taka match was still really good. Kanemaru and Shingo, also great match.
Yeah, one of my favourite matches of the entire tournament.
They also pointed out one of my biggest pet peeves with Kevin Kelly is calling Kanemaru his guilty pleasure.
Yes.
Like, I'm not being funny. I mean, that definitely means he wanks over Kanemaru.
I really hope that's not what it means, Chris.
I mean, like, why would he be your guilt? He's a former GHC fucking junior champion. Why would he? Anyway, Titan had decent lucha things.
I mean, you say that. I feel like Titan was a little bit bland, and I think that didn't help that he was in the same block as Dragon Lee, who was so good.
You look at the other luchadors, it's Bandido and Dragon Lee, who are infinitely more interesting. But I think for who he is, which is like just a standard CMLL guy, I think he represented the company well. So Marty had a bit of a disappointing one. Like, he didn't really have any classics. And his match with
Ishimori was dreadful. It was long, it was boring, it was plodding. It could have ended 4 or 5 times and didn't.
Yeah. Anyway, but Block B on the other hand, what a block! Rocky Romero, where have you been all my life?
It was the storylines in Block B, and we said this before. Block A was very much along the lines of Shingo is going to win this block. He's undefeatable. Who's going to beat Shingo? And obviously, he went through the block unbeaten. This one, though, had the great storylines between Will Ospreay, El Phantasmo, and Rocky Romero. And it was a case of who the fuck is going to stop El Phantasmo in getting to the final, because we cannot have Phantasmo getting to the final, and that led to one of the greatest pops of this year when Rocky Romero beat El Phantasmo in the main event at Korakuen Hall, and it was such a great match.
Rocky Romero probably had, in terms of block action, the 2 best block matches in Block B.
With Ospreay and with El Phantasmo and Ospreay, yeah.
Yeah. And again, with Ospreay, had the best match with everyone, with the exception of the Romero Phantasmo match was better than the Ospreay Phantasmo match. But the Ospreay Rocky match, again, Rocky Romero, where have you been all my life? I want to have your baby.
He reminded everyone that he is still ridiculously capable in ring, and you do sometimes forget that when he is on commentary as much as he is.
No, I was going to think, because he's so rambly on commentary and like so unfocused, you sort of forget that he's a really good wrestler. Robbie Eagles also, like, I understand he was in last year as well, I think, and he was still really good. No, I wasn't in last year, but with the case of Robbie, I really like his Sniper of the Skies thing. I really like how he can target.
I really enjoy that as well. I enjoy the fact that he's doing moonsaults onto knees and things like that, and then working the knee over with the Ron Miller special.
If he does a springboard, he's like targeting a limb, not just doing a standard springboard. And that, like, it can be overstated how hard that must be. No,
his skill as a competitor is fantastic, but not also that. His storyline with, is Phantasmo going too far? Do I really want to be a member of the Bullet Club? That's great as well. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we get onto the Aussie shows, but yeah, I think it was a bit swept under the rug, so not massive. But block action being said, Rob, then we had the finals.
Well, just before that, Chris, don't forget, throughout the block action, we had this video package with Juice Robinson on commentary for so long. We had a video package that we assumed was going to be Chris Brooks. For many, 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 many times we thought it was going to be Chris Brooks, and that would lead to the debut of CCK in New Japan. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but what did happen was it was announced that it was John fucking Moxley, Dean Ambrose as we know it today. He was in the WWE, came to New Japan, and had an absolute barnstormer challenging Juice Robinson. I was a little bit filled with trepidation, because this, of course, was one of the first things that Moxley had done once he'd left the WWE, and my only exposure to Moxley was his time in WWE. And, you know, New Japan don't have the best track record with people coming over from WWE into New Japan. I mean, look at Cody. Juice Robinson, to start off with, was nothing special at all.
Well, Robinson to start off with was a young lion, so.
Well, wasn't he like a little bit of a stage above he was basically Toa Hanare. So it was a little bit above.
If you look at Nakamura versus AJ, you can see him at ringside.
He's still at ringside, no, I'll grant you that, but he is probably the Toa Hanare, as in, like, he will beat young lions in singles.
We didn't have to train him from the ground up. So
No, exactly. And yeah, we then got through to the final on the 5th of June, and we had 3 main matches, basically. The first, of course...
Jay White versus Tanner, which is... I was kind of still burnt out on this feud from last year. We thought about as much last year as Sonata and Okada did this year. But that being said, I'd love Jay White Tanahashi matches. Like, if you want to feel smarter watching a wrestling match, watch a Jay White Tanahashi match with a really critical lens.
No, I agree. Again, the problem is that we'd had it in the G1, we'd had it at Wrestle Kingdom 12, we'd had it at New Beginning in Osaka. It was a lot of times that we'd had it. Of course, it was billed as Tanahashi's return match, which is great, but give us a little bit of a respite from it.
Yeah. Then we had Moxley versus Juice, which was just a car crash in the best possible way. It sort of created this niche of US title where some very Americanized form of wrestling, like this little American niche within New Japan, which I think is good for it. It's good for each title to have their own style, and it now has its own style. So thanks, John Moxley. Thanks, Juice. How good Juice Robinson was here. He was so good, but you didn't notice how good he was because he was making Moxley look so good.
We had a big change in Juice as well. Gone was the fun-loving Juice. The dreads were gone. It added another element to his character, to the match, and to the feud going forward as well.
Very true. This is going to be a great feud. We'll get more into that when we hit the G1. But then, Rob, Wrestling Heaven happened.
We had the Best of the Super Juniors final. And this was the winner of Block A, the undefeated Shingo, who, of course, was still undefeated going into the Super Juniors final in his entire time in New Japan, and the winner of Block B, Will Ospreay. This match is my match of the year, and I saw a video quite recently again of the opening, I think it was about 35 seconds of this match, and good fucking God.
The opening was like if Ricochet and Ospreay were actually trying to hit each other.
Exactly. Imagine that sort of pace, but with Shingo just trying to decapitate Ospreay. And it really worked. I think the result was absolutely the correct thing, because you need a way. The problem is inherently with undefeated streaks is how are you going to defeat the undefeated streak, and it always ends up booking people into a corner. However, losing here in a fantastic match in a tournament final did absolutely nothing to take away from Shingo. And the fact that it took Will absolutely everything to beat him. It took a hidden blade, an Oscutter, and a Stormbreaker, literally all in one motion to beat Shingo. It really built Shingo as this dominant force.
Well, so basically immediately after this, he moved up to the heavyweights, and he was like, I lost to Will because Will's been fighting heavyweights all year, so I want a heavyweight, which played into Dominion.
It did.
We'll get onto that in a second, Rob. I just want to quickly touch on Casino Road happened, so it wasn't great, but there's a few things worth mentioning. ELP and Ishimori won the IWGP Junior Tag Titles,
and have held them since.
Have held them since, and to be fair, this was a really good match. So, and we'll see it again at Wrestle Kingdom. So
again, which I'm very, very happy about.
Yeah, and then another Casino Road show in Sendai. It's funny, Rob, because it's basically a Rev Pro show, but for Rev Pro Cruiserweight and Rev Pro Heavyweight Championships were on the line. El Phantasmo beating up Taguchi in a decent match that went a bit too long, if I remember correctly. I do remember watching this. And ZSJ beating Yoshihashi for the heavyweight title, and I believe also a spot in the G1, or was that? No, that was in the lead up to the G1. That was...
No, it was this match.
No.
It was this match.
No, I've accidentally skipped ahead of Dominion. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. So this was obviously into Dominion a couple of days after, 4 days after the Best of the Super Juniors final, the 9th of June, 2019, Osaka Joe Hall. But obviously, one thing heading into this is that Jericho had returned and was challenging Okada for the title here, so the main event was set. Another couple of things just to go into before we get into the main body of the card.
Shooter.
Yes, John Moxley abducting Shota Umino and the birth of Shooter, which again he now uses in Rev Pro as his name with the targets on his knee pad. So there's lovely bit of Lovely bit of inside knowledge there.
Takagi had a surprisingly really good match with Kojima. We forget that Kojima can still go, but he can.
Very, very good. And then that was where he announced that he was going for the G1 Climax and he was ascending into heavyweight. And obviously just before that, Jon Moxley had said that he was going to go into the G1 as well.
Yeah.
And then after that...
No, because then it was Liger and Suzuki beating the shit out of each other for a while. And then Robert Kenta came out. Now, it was really mean though, because Shibata's music hits. And like, I'm not being funny, because Shibata's opening in his song is quite emotional. It's like, do-do-do, and I was like, oh, Shibata. Like, you always get that slight, there's a reverence around Shibata.
There is. He's a godlike figure, isn't he? Absolutely.
Yeah, like, it's not just that. Like, I feel like if I touched him, he'd shatter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It's over with Becky. He's not coming back at Wrestle Kingdom. I told you this wasn't going to happen. We'll get into this in G1. Anyway, so then the main card really kicks off with the title defenses. We had Ishii versus Taichi, which low-key one of my favourite matches of the year. Not because of their G1 match, but still.
No. Ishii and Taichi have always had chemistry, and they always will have chemistry because their styles are quite similar with the striking and basically brute force and no frills type of match. I thought it was a great match. Similar to you, I thought their New Japan Cup match was better, but this was still a really, really, really good match.
Yeah, I like Chris Charlton bringing up how it's basically Tenryu versus
Kawada.
Kawada. And I do like how Chris Charlton keeps bringing up how Kawada abused Taichi because it explains so much.
It does. It's always the fact that Taichi is Kawada's protege, but then it is quickly always followed up by, Kawada doesn't like Taichi.
Yeah, Kawada's not massive on. But still, this was really good. Really had it in. And then we had Rob's favorite match of the night with Gorillas of Destiny versus LIJ.
For the billionth fucking time, which is just ridiculous.
It was still really good. I really liked Gorillas. Weirdly, I like Gorillas of Destiny's entrance here. I like their Guerrilla Tactics theme. Yeah,
I really like their song. It's very, very... It pumps you up, and unfortunately that is inherently disappointing.
It's not... That's the thing, the old theme song really sets you up better because it's a sort of lo-fi, which is a perfect description of this match. It was a very lo-fi title match. And then we had Ospreay versus Dragon Lee in match of the night. I don't think I'm stretching by saying that.
No, this match was absolutely ridiculous. It was a little bit... It was different to the Shingo match in the way that these two competitors set up because they are both juniors. They're proper juniors, whereas Shingo obviously is a heavyweight masquerading as a junior. We had that one suicide dive spot, which was just absolutely fucking insane.
The Hurricane Rana follow through. Ospreay does that a bit too much now, but here it wasn't overused yet. So when he did that with to be outside, I fucking popped.
Yeah.
Just Dragon Lee's never looked so good.
It was here that basically, he'd had a good Best of Super Juniors, don't get me wrong, but he was always overshadowed by people in his block. And
Shingo,
even Sho, I think, overshadowed him at times.
Yeah.
But here, it made you realise just how much of an asset Dragon Lee is to the junior division. The man is a fucking wrestling genius. He's brilliant in ring.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably my favourite luchador going. So.
Yeah, by a mile. Ospreay obviously won the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship and again would hold it until the upcoming Wrestle Kingdom shows.
Anyway, so Naito and Ibushi in a match, but Dave Meltzer refused to rate because he thought it would be irresponsible to do so. And halfway agree, I'm glad they're not fighting now.
Yeah.
This feud is based on them trying to break each other's neck, and there's only so much I can watch two of my favourite wrestlers almost die, man.
Unfortunately, it's a good match, and leading up to that spot, it was an absolutely fantastic match. But when the main spot that everyone is talking about is that botched German suplex on the ring apron, that, when it's paused and you see the angle that Ibushi's at, how the man didn't break his neck or suffer severe damage is unbelievable.
He died watching it live.
You look at that and then look at the Hiromu one that did result in a broken neck, and I've got no idea I've got no idea how they're different,
You
honestly.
must borrow fucking Mayo Iwatani's powers to not break your neck.
Yeah, must be.
And then Okada versus Jericho, which is always for me seems to be completely overrated by people or completely underrated by people. I think it was a good title. I think it was like it was fine. Like I say fine, that does kind of underrate it. It was a really solid title defense. But it's the first time I've ever seen a New Japan crowd boo on the way out. Like, I've never seen Dominion empty so quickly.
It was anticlimactic.
Yes, it was.
That's the issue.
But that ending, and then like the fact that no one got a. I think next thing, I think Jericho at this point in New Japan getting a bit fucking self-indulgent.
I don't think it's that. I just think that Naito and Omega had better chemistry. I don't think the wrestling style of Brawler Jericho fit with the wrestling style of Okada. And it's weird because it should have done, because Okada is such a good champion fighting from underneath. But it didn't seem to mesh here, and it was anticlimactic in the way it ended. And yeah.
He's very clearly saving himself because Double or Nothing was not far before or after this, was it? He had
May 26th.
And this was on
June the 9th.
Right, so in that case, he was full gear he'd be gearing up for, which I get in 2 months, but probably saving himself just a little bit.
Yeah, even so, it is disappointing.
That being said, very quick on Kids in a Road, the thing with the Zack Sabre Jr. Yoshihashi match was if Yoshihashi wins, he gets in the G1 because the G1 was announced. Great lineup for the G1.
The best lineup ever, do you think?
I can't possibly, it's all subjective, but in terms of when I've been watching, there was no obvious fall guys in any block.
Is there anyone then? Okay, let's try a different question. Is there anyone that was announced in these blocks that you thought could be replaced by people that weren't included?
Initially, I thought Archer should be replaced, but he proved me wrong. So,
no, that's a fair statement. Is there anyone that wasn't included that you think should have been?
Suzuki is the main one. Like, I always thought Makabe would always be in there on name value alone. But that never happened. Really, in terms of like who deserved to be in, I think everyone got in there. So
I just think it's really... You look back to Dash and the build-up that we gave to Yoshihashi, and to then not even make the G1 blocks, that's got to be hugely, hugely disappointing.
Yeah, for him. But, very quick before we go into the G1, the Aussie Super Shows.
The Super Showdown shows. Now, I didn't watch these, so I'm afraid you're going to have to take the lead on this.
There's literally nothing worth talking about apart from the Robbie Eagles versus Ospreay match, which was great.
And this is where he fully transitions from Bullet Club into Chaos, am I right?
Yeah. He does it this weekend because of course he did it pops for the Aussie crowd.
Of course.
You know what? I'm happy because it gave more depth to the junior tag scene, but also why didn't we have this in New Japan World?
And again, that's not the only thing that doesn't go on New Japan World and is, well, instantly sorry, and it's something that remains very disappointing.
Yeah. But anyway, G1, we'll do this sort of in the same fashion we did Super Juniors, because otherwise we'd be here all fucking day. So, Block A, Rob, MVPs.
So, in Block A, I've already gone on record and said I prefer Block B. But Block A was still good. I think MVP, you've got to look at Will Ospreay. His first G1 had sensational matches with the like of Tanahashi, with the like of Okada, Sanada. Absolutely great matches. Archer, yeah, absolutely, on the opening night in Dallas on July 6th. I think that Sanada had an absolutely amazing tournament again. Again, no real bad match. Even managing to pull an okay match out of Bad Luck Fale. Lance Archer, a real breakout. You know, I know it's not his first G1, but the man put on great match after great match after great match, constantly reinventing his offense and showing everyone that he's not just a tag team wrestler. There wasn't, aside from Farley, there was no bad person in this block. And I think if I was pushed, I'd say Ospreay.
Yeah, but a lot of people in this block ended up on 8. Like, Okada and Ibushi ran away with it with basically everyone else but Archer on 8. So,
what about you?
I enjoyed Kenta mostly because he annoyed fans, and I kind of liked that. This will play into the G1 finals, which we'll get onto in a second. Again, Ospreay, he's so good. There were some really good matches in here where I felt people were holding back, if that makes sense. For example, Okada versus Ibushi, I think we gave that a 9 or a 10. But I felt they were holding something back for the eventual Wrestle Kingdom match.
Which makes sense.
It does make sense. But yeah, I agree with you. Block B's so much more better, which is weird because in terms of star power, it's sort of less stacked. But
it is. It is, but you look at the competitors in that block, it was very much a hard-hitting block. You got Ishii, you got Shingo, you got Taichi in that block as well. Moxley. Goto, absolutely. Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
This is probably my favourite G1 with Yano.
Yano, who after the 2 opening nights had beaten both Jay White and Naito.
He was in the fucking lead, Rob. And I think that's somewhat beautiful.
It is, and the idea of panic in some New Japan fans that Yano might headline Wrestle Kingdom is just beautiful.
I'm not going to lie, I would enjoy a Yano title match. Not necessarily IWGP, maybe never, but I want to see Yano in like an actual title match.
It would be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing.
Like, people need to, like, that's the thing, people seem to take Yano matches as a bad thing when in reality it's just something different, and then something like the G1 where as amazing as it is, you are glazing over that little something different is really important. The Taichi Ishii match in this block was amazing, as was the Taichi fucking. Can we disagree that Jay White is the MVP of this block other than Ishii?
Yes, 100%. He is da bomb, as the cool kids say. I will just say as well, though, that Ishii's not far behind. Similar to Ospreay, he gave everyone outstanding matches. His match with Shingo was incredible. Again, great chemistry with Taichi. Great match against Naito. Even his match against Yano was entertaining. And this is a man who has never smiled.
I was watching some of the G1 with my friend. He came around to play Smash Bros. And then I was like, mate, I really need to catch up with Japanese wrestling. Do you want to watch some with me? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he watched it and he loved Yano.
Yano's great. Yeah. And especially during World Tag League, like I say, you need that breaking up.
Yeah. Juice had a really good tournament as well. Cobb kind of disappointed me. This is kind of where I realised Cobb is better in shorter matches.
Yes. No, I agree. I think he disappointed a lot of people, which...
I think what it was, we were expecting him to have the Elgin runs, and it's sort of like, Cobb's great. He's not on the level of Elgin. Elgin's on another level for big men.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that Elgin's not there. I understand why New Japan doesn't really want anything to do with him. But, like, you can't just think you can replace him with another big man. You sort of need to find someone as good as Elgin, and I can't really think of a big man. Maybe Brian Cage. But he's in with Impact, so that's not going to happen. But, you know.
Brody King?
He's not as good as Elgin, but probably a better overall worker than Cobb. I think Cobb's more impressive than King, but King is just sort of better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of big men we could have called on. But then again, Brody King doesn't really have the star power. But we actually said this during the review of the tag final, that we think Brody King would do well in the G1. You know what was a match was really good, but we haven't discussed yet, is Naito and Shingo.
Incredible.
And again, I said this about Chiefs earlier, but it's the same with Naito here. Naito's so good, but nobody else. He made Shingo look so good, but nobody was talking about Naito when this match was over.
And this is a G1 that everyone was convinced that Naito was winning.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I did predict Ibushi.
I predicted Naito. I thought it was built for Naito. And obviously, if we go into the block finals now, and Jay White taking out Naito in the block B final.
That was great, though.
It was a great match. It was a sensational match, in fact.
It was like last year when ZSJ took out Naito. It's just, I love when a good heel takes out Naito.
Exactly. The heel heat that garnered Jay White heading into the final against Ibushi.
And
Every single person in Sumo Hall wanted... It wasn't Sumo Hall. It wasn't Sumo Hall. Budokan. Everyone in Budokan wanted Ibushi to kick the head off Jay White.
Which, by the way, Ibushi and Jay White G1 finals.
One of the matches of the year. One of the matches of the year, hands down.
I watched it live and I was blown away by it. But you didn't watch it live, so I had to wait for you to watch it. And then he just messaged me going, so what did he give this match? And I was like, 10. And he's like, oh, thank God.
I didn't want to look like a smark.
This is a very, very, very different kind of G1 final than we've had. Like, when you think we had Ibushi, like, for the last 3 years, it's either been Omega or Ibushi in the finals, so it's always been very explosive.
Yeah, and there's always been, those enormous spots, whereas here, it was very much a slow build into a crescendo.
It was a lot like the Champions Carnival main event in that respect.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. Between Miyahara and Jake Lee, yeah, I suppose so. It was a great match, a really, really good match, one that was thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable. One of the matches of the year alongside the best of the Super Juniors tournament final. And again, cemented Jay White as having an absolutely sensational year, match quality-wise, something that is completely different to everything we expect. As you said, if you compare it to the G1 Climax final 28, something completely different. And it's what he was crying out for, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not going to top Omega Naito in terms of how explosive it's going to be. You're not going to top Tanahashi winning in terms of how emotional it's going to be. So, like, you need to do something different. And this was the perfect something different.
This was the perfect something different, yeah, absolutely.
And I hope there's a perfect something different next year, too. Variety is the spice of life, Rob. We should. What I'm saying, Rob, is that we should have Lance Archer versus Toriano in the G1 finals next year.
David Finlay winning the G1 30. You heard it here first.
Anyway, then we went over to England, over to our home stretch. We were going to go to this, Rob, but we didn't.
Yes, that's pretty much a summary of what happened. We did talk about it briefly, and then we just didn't end up going. But yeah, Royal Quest, 31st of August from the Copper Box Arena in London. First thing to say is that obviously this was yet another thing that didn't stream live on New Japan World. It was, of course, on Fight TV.
Literally interest.
It killed a massive amount of interest because the sound quality was awful.
You got lucky. You won a code.
I did win a code. It's the first thing I've ever won ever, and I won a code to watch it for free, and I turned it off after the first two matches because I could not deal with the sound quality. It was so distorted. Luckily, obviously, a couple of days later, New Japan World uploaded it and tried to sort from their end a load of the audio issues. It was a shame, really. It really was. I think that you had some really, really good matches here. We're not going to run through the entire of the card. There were three.
And there's four at the top. So there's God versus Aussie Open, which I just want to mention because I love Aussie Open, and I hope when Mark Davis is better, they use them more.
I think it's slightly disappointing that not slightly disappointing, it's very disappointing that Mark Davis got injured because I think they were a shoe-in for World Tag League.
They would have been great in World Tag League as well. Yeah. They're properly amazing.
And let's face it, just quickly, the dueling chance that tag team match got between God, Aussie Open, and just the two teams just standing there going, this is fucking weird.
That's the thing, you have the New Japan Smarks and the Brit Red Smarks, sort of.
And to be fair, it was probably top 3 God matches of the year, which unfortunately isn't saying a lot.
What is the best God match of the year?
I mean, they had a good World Tag League match with Yoshihashi and Ishii in the tag final.
I was going to go
Wrestle Kingdom.
I was going to say either Wrestle Kingdom or this one, probably.
Yeah, this was a great match. Kenta almost died, but also won the Never Openweight Championship, so that's your reward for almost dying, Kenta.
We did miss that bit out about the G1 final, about how Kenta turned.
Oh, fuck, we did. So, Kenta's in a match with Ishii. Kenta turns on Ishii. Shibata comes down and attacks Kenta. Bullet Club get on top of Shibata. Suddenly, Kenta is the biggest heel in the world.
And it is great.
It is great. You fucking marks who thought Shibata was coming back. Like, I'm not being funny. Shibata wasn't acting like Shibata. People sort of just worked themselves into thinking Shibata was coming back.
For me, I've always believed that New Japan are a company that don't do anything for no reason. And that first attack of Shibata on Kenta, you can get away with by just saying, look, he's angry. He was, they were friends. The second one of Kenta attacking Shibata, which happens on one of the Destruction shows.
Yeah.
That's not there for no reason. That's the one, I think, that planted those seeds, not necessarily this one.
Well, onto this when we talk about Wrestle Kingdom, whenever we do that, Goto is Shibata's best friend, so obviously he's the right person to step up to defend Shibata.
Oh yeah, and Goto is a big match player. He will have an absolutely amazing match at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, like look at his match where, well, we'll go into that in a second, his match with Shingo on one of the Destruction shows was spectacular. But anyway, I'm starting to turn around and go, like, literally, because Goto's not suffocating a title, I'm fine with Goto right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, rest of World Quest, Tanahashi and ZSJ had a Tanahashi-ZSJ match. Tanahashi finally beats ZSJ, but it seems like that never happens.
It does never happen. It was a very surprise victory for ZSJ to lose in his hometown. Home country. They did want to pop.
And, like, to be fair, people there live have probably seen ZSJ live a ton. Whereas this might be their first time seeing Tana. So.
And Tanahashi would go on to defend it, and is still champion to this day, of course. Oh no, wait, that's completely wrong.
Yeah. So Okada and Suzuki was an Okada and Suzuki match. Really fun. Second best match of the weekend. No, third, because TakeOver was just spectacular.
Enormous pop for Suzuki.
Enormous. I love British wrestling fans of Suzuki. But the only time, like, I can never say it properly, has no name.
Kaze Ninare.
Yeah, there we go. The only time people haven't sang along with that is at What Culture shows, and I hate it.
The man is
a god.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't get into the G1, I assume this was to placate the fact that he didn't get into the G1. It was an absolutely great match. It lasted just the right amount of time. This is what that Jericho match should have been at Dominion, with Suzuki dominating, or Jericho dominating at Dominion, and Okada fighting back and just managing to find that little bit more to be the champion. It was disappointing that Suzuki didn't win the championship. I feel like that would have got the most ridiculous pop in the world, but obviously as we head towards Wrestle Kingdom, they were never going to take the belt off Okada.
Really wanted it to happen.
Imagine the noise. Imagine the noise if he'd have done it.
Exactly. So we continue, like, New Japan's excursion outside of Japan right now with the Super J-Cup, which was a lot of fun. This is probably more fun than Best of Super Juniors, only because it's more consumable.
Yeah, shorter shows. What is your opinion, though, on the empty seats?
You were never going to sell out that pyramid with... You can barely sell out the pyramid with the Golden Lovers headlining. Why do you think you could do it with Super Juniors with no heavyweights on the card?
And I think as well, it's a building with yellow seats. So
on the Jumbo G1, they were in the Staples Center, and there's a lot of empty seats. But that's more forgivable because the Staples Center is massive. Whereas here, it's sort of like, you've sold this out before. This isn't a good look. And, like, I'm not being funny. Again, it was great matches all around. Like Ospreay and EOP, and also the final of EOP and Dragon Lee.
but like you barely have any heavy of your big draws on the card. Like the only real big draw you have on the card is Naito and possibly Liger, but he's not really a draw more than he's like a great thing to have on the card. So like, I don't know. Oh, we also have Jay White, but like in America, he's not a draw yet. So I don't know what we were expecting here. Like the audience, two and a half thousand people. That place holds like 9,000 people. So,
and I think that's where the New Japan of America has been quite clever in saying, right, we're not even going to try venues like that.
But anyway, what was your favorite match for Jacob?
I will be perfectly honest. I have not seen many matches of the Super J Cup. I have seen the final, and that is it.
Okay, to be fair, the final is probably my favorite one, other than like Ospreay show, because like it's a perfect mix of what I want, and also what was it? Oh right, Ospreay and Amazing Red.
I was just going to ask how that match was, because obviously we had the return of Amazing Red.
Really like surprisingly good. The crowd were popping hard for it. So
good.
It's good that they weren't like, who the fuck is this guy? But then again, he's a fucking indie darling, so of course, in front of a Defy crowd, so of course they knew who he was. Anyway, we then got onto Destruction shows.
Yeah.
Shows.
Shows. The Destruction tour was really, it suffered from being a Destruction tour. Really, we had 3 shows. The 15th on the.
It was a Destruction tour.
Yeah.
There was some good. Young Line Cup was fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the 3 dates we had were the 15th in Beppu, the 16th in Kagoshima, and the 22nd in Kobe.
Again,
and
in Hiroshima is no longer
the worst title. The worst title.
Like every time I see that, I get very uncomfortable. I can only imagine what Americans feel.
Yeah. I don't understand who is in charge of publicity for that show, but just a little bit of brain power, surely.
Anyway.
Apart from the Young Lion Cup, really, there's very, very little to talk about apart from the 2 main events for each night.
The main shows of the night. So we had Bullet Club with Tamatonga and Tangaloa beating Ishii and Yoshihashi. It was fine. ZSJ versus Tanahashi again. We had a ZSJ versus Tanahashi match. Stop this. For the love of God.
It does need to stop. It does need to stop. And thankfully it does.
For now. Then in
Kagoshima.
I'm too hungover for this shit. We have Phantasmo and Ishimori taking on the Birds of Prey. And you know what? Great. This is great. I know you're not massive on it. I love it.
I'm not massive on it. I think it's a good match. I think it's, a very, very good IWGP Junior Heavyweight tag match. My issue is that there were spots in this match, mainly from Robbie Eagles, I'll be perfectly honest, where things were flippy for flippy's sake, and that's the issue I have.
I guess, but also that's kind of what you get in junior tag. So
I understand that, but this was excessive. And I've never thought that about a junior tag match before. And bear in mind, I've seen matches with the Young Bucks.
Yeah, that is a fair criticism. I can't deny that. But yeah. But also, Ben Ibushi versus Kenta, which I loved.
Yeah. Again, at no point was it ever going to be the case that Ibushi was dropping the briefcase to Kenta, but, it didn't take away from it. A little bit of bollocks from Bullet Club, but not overbearingly. They had really good chemistry, Ibushi and Kenta. Another really, really good match, and another to put in Kota Ibushi's back catalogue of amazing matches he's had in 2019.
Yeah. So then we moved on to Kobe, and Goto versus Shingo. Lovely.
Yeah. It was a G1 match, basically.
Yeah, and would have stood out in the G1. Just great stuff. But Jay White versus Naito, which you love. I'm not massive on. I prefer the G1 match.
Their G1 match was better. I think this should have happened earlier, but we're full on the train now of the destruction of Naito. And unfortunately, we're in September, and I feel like this could have done with a little bit more build. But we're, it's almost the destruction of the Tranquilo character. of Naito. And Jay White basically going, come on then, let's smile. And Jay White really taking apart Naito, really destroying Naito and his personality and everything he stands for before then taking the belt off him as well. And I think that's a really good storyline. He would then obviously go on to lose a tag match to Taichi, and Taichi would absolutely eviscerate Naito, and that would be the start of the Naito comeback then. And I feel my only issue with this is that I feel that this should have taken place before and given a little bit more build before he then instantly gets his heat back.
You can't really do it in G1. People get lost in the shuffle. But then you can't. All the shows leading up to this were either in Britain or in America. I'm not quite sure.
They had a block final match. Why not do it there? What? I mean, if it was in the middle of the G1, I'd understand that, a 3rd of August show or whatever. But this was the G1 final. You can have a little bit of story there. All eyes are on that show.
I guess. I don't know. It's not. I think this sort of just proves that Gato doesn't book a year in advance. I'm not going to lie.
Well, it's a minor criticism.
More than I have this year. But anyway, for some people say Gato is the king of booking, and he also books King of Pro Wrestling. So,
look at your amazing segues, Chris. Look at your amazing segues. This was disrupted then, King of Pro Wrestling, on the 14th of October from Sumo Hall. Disrupted, obviously, by the huge tsunami that hit Japan. Which took out Moxley. Moxley couldn't appear on the show and was thus stripped of the United States Championship. And ZSJ couldn't get into Japan either because of the weather, so he was replaced on the card. Now, this was slightly disappointing because we thought we were going to get the Juice versus John Moxley, the blow-off to that feud. However, Chris, what did we get instead?
Like mini Undertaker. It's great. But let's go through. Let's start with you talk about the destruction of Naito already, but it's somewhat disappointing. Like, if you want more in depth, we've done that review. Suzuki versus Liger, which has been bubbling all year, and I love this.
Yeah, Battle Liger.
I like how we sort of went through all the moods of Liger.
Yeah, I love that. It was great, and
we had Keisha Liger during the destruction shows, and.
Did you want this at Wrestle Kingdom?
Yeah, but also I don't think you could get much. I don't see them getting another 3 months out of it. So
no, this feud had been bubbling for the vast majority of this year.
It's been going since before Dominion, so eventually you need to have your blow. And to be fair, this was really good. I think I prefer this as Liger's retirement match as opposed to what we're getting, but. Oh, wow. Then we have Ospreay and Phantasmo in probably their best match. It was great. Phantasmo starting off going, okay, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to respect what we've lost during the tsunami. And then just turns it around.
Yeah, it's probably Phantasmo's best singles match in New Japan.
The Dragon Lee match is better just because of the licking the blood and slapping the spot.
I don't think that... Okay, each to his own.
Was 6-man, who cares? Really weirdly placed on the card was about 6-man. But Lance Archer versus Juice Robinson, which was again a fun kind of Americanized match. And then we had set up Finlay for a shot, so I'm cool with this. Ibushi versus Evil, which I think was fine. I don't think Evil needed to kick out the Kamigoye either.
No, and that's what I mean. We seem to go through phases of setting up Evil to do big things. And, there's one man that's kicked out of the Kamigoye this year, and that was Lance Archer up to this point. And if you're going to build Evil up by kicking out of the Kamigoye, he needs to have a big program. And he is in a multi-man at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, so not great. But then Okada vs. Sanada, which is a really, really good one, because earlier in G1, Sanada won in the longest G1 match to go to decision, and then this one, from my favorite, from a little story perspective, because Sanada, the really cool, stoic character, lost his kill, and that's why he lost the match. If he just stayed in the Dragon Sleeper, he would have won. But he's like, I'm getting restless. I'm gonna hit a moonsault. Fucks him. Rainmaker. Boom.
Yeah, and not only that, it's the fact that post-match, you've got that iconic moment where Sanada begins crying. Sanada, the captain of Cool, the cold skull, no emotion showed. And he knows he fucked it, and he knows that he's had 4 opportunities now. Well, 3 opportunities at the title and 1 in the G1, and he can't get the job done when it's for the title. And the mirroring that they have done between this feud and the Okada and Tanahashi feud from, years back is sensational. And I think that Sanada could be that person. Do I think Sanada is that person to take the title next year? No. I think he needs building again now that he's lost again. I think we need to keep away from Okada and Sanada for a while. But that was amazing. Quick point, that won Tokyo Sports Match of the Year. Do you agree?
Tokyo Sports are so full of bollocks.
Do you agree?
No. But this is a publication that has given Tatsuya Naito Technician of the Year.
Yes, so. That was last year, wasn't it? Which is just ridiculous, but there we are.
So when we had the Junior Tag League, I didn't watch any of the Junior Tag League, did you?
I watched none of the Junior Tag League, no.
Okay, so on to Power Struggle, which you think is better than King of Pro Wrestling. I think you're wrong. First main match, Naito versus Taichi. You know what I loved about this match? There was a Northern Lights bomb, and I did not expect there to be a Northern Lights bomb.
Yeah, I do think that Power Struggle was a better card. Just because I feel like there was more build. I don't feel like there was any real surprises at King of Pro Wrestling. I don't feel like there was any kind of, look at the card. Okada was always beating Sanada. Ibushi was always beating Evil. Ospreay was always beating Phantasmo.
But you say here, Ospreay was always beating Ibushi. Jay White was always beating Goto.
But it was accented by the surprises.
Okay, so Roppongi 3K beat Despy and Kanemaru in a match where Sho was great at selling. Sho was definitely the MVP, but at the same time, we've seen this match so much.
We have. I think they've resisted the urge to do that fucking triple threat at Wrestle Kingdom, so thank God for that.
I'm very proud of them.
In both divisions.
Yeah, I'm so proud of them. It has led to a few random multi-mans on the Wrestle Kingdom.
We'll get there.
So Kenna and Ishii had the match we were probably going to have at Royal Quest before Kendra almost died, and it was great.
Yeah, it was really, really good match. Really enjoyable.
Ospreay and Bushi had a match that Rob will jizz all over. But I think it's just an Ospreay Bushi match, which was then heightened by the fact that Hiromu came back.
Yeah.
And then just started taking bumps, and I was like, stop it.
The man is insane, and I like the fact that he's willing to show that he's not going to change his style.
Yeah, but did he have to throw himself into the barricade?
He's Hiromu. He's fucking mental. Of course he's got to do that.
Again, if we were LIJ, I'm pretty sure I'd end up being Hiromu in the Podmania hierarchy. Garth would be Shingo.
Yes, yeah, Garth would be Shingo, 100%.
Garth is just standing there, all stoic. Yeah, Rob would be Bushi. But anyway, Jay White versus Hiroki Goto, which sort of helped create the biggest meme in Podmania right now.
Yes, the No Goto!
Which happened it was at King of Pro Wrestling that happened.
Yes, I think so.
It's still the best
It's
thing.
still brilliant.
Do you want a shot of this? No Goto!
Incredible. Oh.
Oh.
It was a Jay White Goto match. It was a good match.
It's better than Hinekuni, not as good as G1.
No, but it does prove that Goto is, slowly but surely becoming a little bit more consistent and hopefully a little bit more of a factor next year where he's not just going to suffocate the Never Openweight Championship, which is what we talked about before.
Yeah, honestly, I'm fine with anyone. That's my problem with Okada right now as well. But suffocating a title scene, I'm just done with him.
Yeah.
So after that, we had the showdowns, which apparently San Jose was a good show, and LA never got filmed properly. So
it has recently gone up on World.
Has it?
It has.
But nothing really big happened, did it?
No multi-mans, nothing more.
Yeah, but on Saturday, apparently Rob will recommend, if I remember rightly, the Archer Finley match.
The Archer
And
Finley
the
match was
Phantasmo.
great, and the Show versus Phantasmo match are both great.
Okay, awesome. We're in home stretch now, man. In LA, yeah, multi-man series. Fuck cares. And then Tag League, Rob.
Tag League for the 16th of November to December 8th. New Japan listened to none of their fans, and rather than making less teams in 2 blocks, we then had more teams in 1 block. So 120 matches between 16th of November and December 8th.
And you watched you mad.
I watched the first 3 days in full, and then I dipped in and out, because obviously the rest weren't filmed. They were just uploaded in bits. A couple of things to note. Zack and Taichi were easily the best team in the tournament and were fantastic. Finley and Juice, the eventual winners, were brilliant, and I think Finley, we'll get to the final in a minute, but Finley and Juice, and Finley especially, was the star of the show. I think he's come back a reinvigorated man, which in a way makes me really sad that they haven't been able to do the same with Yoshihashi. You know, he came back from this massive injury and he sort of fitted out. Whereas Dave Finlay's come back, he's riding the wave and he's showing what he can do. Like I say, no block final. So coming into the final day, we had G.O.D., Evelyn Sonata, and Juice and Finley as the potential winners. And we still had all 3 possibilities for the championship match at Wrestle Kingdom. Thank God, but Ishii and Yoshihashi managed to beat the Guerrillas of Destiny, eliminating them again, which means that they have still never won the World Tag League despite being champions. And then Juice and Finley beat Evil and Sonata in what was easily the match of the tournament, aside from the Suzuki-gun match, which was incredible. Finley again getting the pinfall over Evil with the acid drop. A really, really, really good match. Highly recommend you go and watch it. Really good feel-good factor at the end where you got the face locker room coming down celebrating with Finley and Juice. And yeah, it was an interesting show. As well as that, on the final night, we had Jericho reaffirming his challenge for Tanahashi on the 5th of January, and we had Moxley returning to challenge Archer for his United States Championship in a Texas death match, both of which have been confirmed. So overall, the final day was a good show, but yeah, there was some, good God, at times it was arduous.
Okay, and so overall, Rob, we'll try and fly through these last 2 points, and most of them busting on a piss. First of all, New Japan year overall, how do you feel about the year?
There's been some certain highs. There's been some match quality-wise has been amazing. The tournaments, for the most part, the Tag League aside, have been absolutely must-watch. The Best of Super Juniors and the G1 Climax have been absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best there has ever been. Jay White has been incredible. A real diamond that they've got there. Ibushi, Ospreay have all had fantastic matches as well. Really worth noting. A couple of negatives. The tag division again is just an absolute joke. They haven't established any more teams, and I'll go back to New Beginning and Sapporo where they had the chance to put the titles on Zack and Suzuki and reaffirm another team, but they haven't. And the fact that they defaulted back to Okada, as amazing as Okada is, and I will never ever badmouth Okada because he's just that good, they had the opportunity to do something better with Jay White and they didn't. So that's basically my year in review. Overwhelmingly good, but with some negatives.
I kind of agree. Everything to do with match quality, I can't complain. Obviously, still best matches in the world.
Yes.
Booking. The booking. If Gato is booking you in advance, he's a bad booker. If this is all on the fly, then fine. But don't fucking tell me he books a year in advance if this is the shit he's booking.
Yeah, you have a big issue with this. I don't. The issue for me, I don't have a real issue with it, but that's by the by.
No, we've talked about 2 or 3 people, like G.O.D. are suffocating the tag titles. Naito's suffocating the IC title. All the titles are currently being suffocated. And I get that can all change past Wrestle Kingdom, but as it stands this year, so many title scenes, like with the exception of the Never title, and that's because no one's held it long enough for it to suffocate.
I don't think you can say the IC title was suffocated this year. I mean, it's had 3 separate champions.
I guess, but it's always sort of defaulted back to Naito.
Well, 4 if you count Jericho going into Wrestle Kingdom 13 as champion.
Yeah, but like for the most part, like Ibushi had it for a while and it defaulted back to Naito, and suddenly now Jay White has it. It's a tiny bit interesting. I don't know. I think it does speak volumes for Rob. We have felt the need to look for outside sources for Japanese wrestling outside of New Japan.
Overall, the year hasn't been as good as maybe 2018 or 2017, but
Well, 20 special. So
it's been a placeholding year, maybe.
yeah, I feel like this has set up good things for next year if they can do. But like overall, like I've lost a tiny bit of faith in Gator's booking this year. Mostly, literally, just because they defaulted it back to Okada. That's been my biggest issue. Like Jay White could have had such an interesting year, and it's not like he wasn't drawing. We can't tell if he was drawing or not because he didn't have it long enough to know if gates were down.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
But what you went outside to find, what did you find? What did you enjoy?
When I've been outside of New Japan, I've enjoyed All Japan. I've enjoyed match with Kento Miyahara despite his inability to sell. I've enjoyed their tag league. Their tag league had the sensational final.
Dipping into New Japan tag league just shows me how bad New Japan All Japan tag league just shows me how bad New Japan tag league is.
Yeah, New Japan. Well, it's openly not one of their big tournaments. It's a chance for quite a lot of the big stars to take time off.
Yeah, you also enjoy Noah, don't you?
I've enjoyed bits of Noah 100%, yeah. I've watched the Battle of Aesthetics show, The Best, from the 2nd November, which we both watched now. That was really, really good.
It's the sleepest show of the year for me.
Yeah, it was a very good show. I'm still not sure on Kiyomiya. I know you're big on Kiyomiya, but
I mean, like he's the best drop kicks in the world right now.
It doesn't make him a champion.
He is a champion. Get over it.
Well,
what do you think of a new title?
What do I think about the title?
Yeah,
the IWGP Heavyweight title ripoff.
Yeah, no, that's my problem with Noah right now. They seem to be like copying off of New Japan's own work, like the N1, and that's the thing. I like the GHC. I really liked the design of the old GHC title, so I miss it.
Yeah, it's potentially not great, but even so, there's been quite a lot of buzz about Noah recently. Their show's on the 4th and 5th, or if they got a show on the 5th, I can't remember. No, they're 4th and 5th, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Stardom's been really good, just to quickly get that in.
Of course. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do is we'll preview the Wrestle Kingdom 14 cards, which have been announced. We'll preview those a little bit closer to the time, and again, we'll dip into the Road to Tokyo Dome shows as well. They've been announced. They're always really, really fun. Little bit disappointed that the main event of the 19th of December is Hiromu's return match. I feel like they could have saved that for Wrestle Kingdom, but that's by the by. We'll dip into that. So, yeah, all in all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. You can check us out on Twitter at YoungLioncast, Facebook at the same address. You can check us out on the Podmania Podcasting Network. You can also check us out on podmania.co.uk, where you've got the archives of all our episodes, as well as a lot of interesting features and blog articles, including a full preview of Wrestle Kingdom 14, which will be up very, very shortly. Chris, where can they find you on Twitter? They can find me at RealRobGoodwin. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.